So Widow is kind of struggles on this point just because there's one LOS. Like it's a long LOS, but it's easily blocked because it's like the main thing with hit scan in general is just off angles, right? Off angles, off angles. I'm gonna harp on off angles through all three VODs. I guarantee you that's the main thing I'm talking about.
I love that.
So Widow on this point is kind of hard to make work because there's just one main angle. It's a good angle for Widow in theory, but the problem is that everyone has to fight in this angle.
Yeah.
And Widow does not thrive on angles that are heavily fought for, right? Like Widow thrives in a situation where she requires a lot of resources, and so by being on an angle that they don't already want to put resources onto, you're forcing them to put a heavy amount of resources on an angle they wouldn't normally do it on, which leaves the angle that they would want it on, generally the objective, to be significantly less pressured, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're like Ryan's gonna be shielding this choke regardless of your existence, so you're just getting nullified by his existence. You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
when they push in, like Ryan's useless, apart from his shield in this entire situation. But once they get closed in, he becomes useful and you become useless because there's not a whole lot of like you have like this at best. Like this is where Widow's going to shine, but
Yep.
it's going to be a key moment is you come here and then if they split push, you can go whichever you can look for whichever side the tank doesn't go. And then Ryan, if he wants to push in, he is either shield or hammer. If he's hammer, then he doesn't have shield, which means you can pick his team off. If he wants to stay back here and be useless, then you're useless, but then it allows your tank to play the game, if that makes sense. So you're kind of trading with this Reinhardt, at least on this main first point. Like the jump shot. Oh, close.
I should be getting away. I noticed.
The shield, yeah. Thing is, like, you have the shield, so it's like, I get it. But also, like, yeah, again, there's this off angle that you have to worry about. But then also, there's just a really bad angle. This is just, I mean, it'd be one thing if this would be fine. Holding this, because you have the shield for these guys, holding and looking for somebody here is one thing.
Okay.
But this is a bad angle, even if Sojourn isn't here, because what are you hitting here?
Yeah.
Right? And then you have to burn resources just to get back to your main angle, which they can be using, because again, if you're not here posted up on the angle, you're too busy retreating off bridge, they can use that time to push up without your threat. Which allows Ryan to be like, okay, I don't need to put my shield up because Widow's running for her life right now, you know?
Do you think my default play should be just start at the tower instead of doing a hook
No,
shot?
no. Hook shot's fine. Hook shot's fine. Like, go for this because if you get the kill, great. I mean, ultimately, it's more swag than anything. Like, if I was saying, like, really the sweat thing to do would be no, don't go for this. Because it's the kill doesn't... Like, farming ult charge early isn't that good for Widow because her ult's not that good. At least on first point especially. So, like, getting that early kill isn't going to do much. It's going to right in front of spawn. 8 seconds later. Whoopie-doo, not the biggest deal.
Okay.
It might build your confidence, but that's the best value you're gonna get from that is hitting that shot and be like, all right, I'm on it today, you know. But like the main thing is once you're down here, just dip, like run immediately, get back as soon as possible. Which it doesn't help that they have a rush comp, so they have the Lucio speed boosting, so that window of time gets shorter and shorter with that speed boost. They wouldn't be as up as they are right now if it weren't for it. So it's up to you if you want to go for that. That's your call, but value wise, the kill, even if you hit it, probably not gonna make the biggest difference. If you headshot Lucio in this specific instance, you know, it like can kind of take the wind out of their sails. But again, just being here and ready, like that's just the hard part with Widow. Is there's no like this is absolutely guaranteed because you're not gonna be able to get a whole lot done on any. I like this angle, but that's the risk of it, right? Risk and reward. Good shot.
Thanks.
See, like that's better. Like getting with the air shot. Like if you just stay here, then like if Sojourn wants to go up there, then you can shoot Sojourn from here. But I like this angle. I like backing up to here. Like this is good. Because again, there is that risk that he pushes you, but if you can get out, you're fine.
Yeah.
Which luckily, whoops, you got your grapple back in time. If you didn't have your grapple, it's over. But
yeah,
I like this. Nice. Because these plays are really good on Widow because, again, like, the main weakness of Widow is that in these close quarter situations, you can't... Like, a cast can play here 100%, right? But, like, on Widow, like, the default spots are, again, like, this is here, like, and then, like, this angle. Like, that's pretty much all you have as your post points on Widow. So, like, anything further up in these off angles is risk and reward, right? These are the safe, like, oh, I'm getting value by existing on this angle. This, you don't get value by existing. You get value by getting kills, right? Like, you're not, like...
Yeah.
Because it's about being difficult to deal with, right? Think about like Tracer in the backline's impossible to deal with. Widow in her backline's impossible to deal with, right? So it's like always the threat of getting that kill versus here is you have to get the kill, right? You can't, just the threat alone isn't enough. So being able to make these plays and go for these like short flank angles is really, really solid on Widow. But it takes a lot of comfort and mechanics. I'm glad we have, because that's not something I can coach. I can't just be like, hit that shot there, you know?
Yeah, thankfully, I don't feel like my aim's ever been the problem.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have a natural leg gravitation. That's the thing, is like you build aim. The one coaching tip I can give for aim is comfort. Comfort equals skill in anything, whether it's aim, mechanics, flying a plane, whatever, right? The more comfortable you are, the better you will be at doing whatever it is you're doing. And that goes both ways. That's why practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice doing something bad for 1,000 hours, you're gonna be really good at that bad thing. And I'm gonna overall, if I practice a perfect thing for 10 hours, I'm gonna be better overall, because I'm slightly better and more comfortable in doing the right thing, and you are hard set in this bad habit.
Did I overstay my welcome there against the Hanzo?
Let's see here. It's
I feel like it was so low, so I really
that was a risky peak. When you see the Sonic arrow there, or that he's what is storm arrowing, this is a risky repeak right here. That, like, as soon as we get that like kind of scope like sight that he's like, even though he's 1 HP, walking out into that is very scary. If anything, I would like just like jump out and maybe look for a spray or something just because he's so low. But like now I'm done. Like shield here, like I'm not getting value, especially because they have the Hanzo. It's one thing if they don't have any range, because then that shield's not getting much value apart from like just slowing down the push. Like you're getting value by making him put a shield up, because he's slowing the push down. But they have that sniper, so that shield is actually buying time for that sniper to get free shots off on you, which is not valuable. Because it's all a risk and reward game for how long you can stay alive and how much you can do. So you want to put in that risk, especially the more skill you have at like aiming and getting those kills, the more of a target you put on your back, because like, oh shit, this Widow is hitting shots, she's a problem, versus, oh, this Widow's on an off angle, but she doesn't hit shit, we don't need to care about her, right? So like by proving yourself kind of early, you set a tone for your how much of a threat you're going to be, which means they're going to want you more and more. And that it becomes a game of like getting as many resources out of them that they're trying to put into killing you without dying. Because as soon as you die, you justify it, because you're like the entire team here at this point. It's like if they can just kill this Widow, we can push up. You know what I mean? So the more important thing is not to kill the Hanzo. It's to make sure you don't die. If you kill the Hanzo and live, amazing. But that's the risk, right? Is you risk killing him and then dying, or maybe not even killing him and still dying, right? That is Hanzo and Genji's entire win condition here. Is Hanzo trying to snipe you and the Ashe, and Genji trying to dive you, right? And keep you off his team as much as possible, which can kill him, which is perfect. Okay, as soon as that Sonic, I'm gone. Yeah, I mean,
that was,
you lost that point. But that's the thing, right? Is like this outpost here worked great for you when you could use it. Right, you even killed Genji on this point. The hard part is Genji came up here and stalled you on this outpost, so that way you couldn't. If Genji wasn't here, you could have gotten significantly more value on this position, right? But if you, and that's because you took too long to back up. So yeah, if you backed up sooner and posted on this position, ready for them to kind of round the corner, you could have gotten more value. Or you could look for, depending on which way they go, and it kind of depends on the match itself and like your own intuition. You can look for this angle instead, like retaking this angle. If they're going like shallow here, if they're going this way, you can look for this really cheeky angle on their backline walking, like an Ana walking up, right? And then you can go for this off angle, right? Because then they still have to choose, do I fight this Widow or do I fight these people here, right? Which there's, again, off angle here, so not everyone can fight this, but like they have the Hanzo. Zenyatta can still kind of fight it. Like Reinhardt can't do shit to you, right? But so those are options that you have. This position is like I said, like kind of default and really good, but you have to be here kind of early, and it depends on their comp as well. I'd say with their comp, I would have gone for this side angle, just because there's so much that can contest you up here that it's not as free. Because the main thing that makes this angle good is the distance and the height, but the angle itself is kind of bad, just because it's not really an off angle. It's just kind of hard to get to. But this angle is riskier, depending on where they're pushing, right? But that's the risk, is knowing and having the intuition of knowing where they're going to push. But it's a better angle. So that's generally the case. And this is a really good Widow map, which this is usually the better the angle, the riskier it is to be on that angle. And that value that's on any hit scan, but that value is exponentially increased on Widowmaker because she has the most value, but also the most risk on any angle. But these Widow maps, these long sight lines, you generally just have a lot of more high value angles with very low risk because you are just outranging any other contestants against you. God, what is our Q doing? Yeah, I'm a bit wary walking out scope like that. Just because of Genji being up there. Like, it's one thing if you're looking for another kill, but like, when you walk out scope like this, you're essentially, like, you're leading yourself into a situation where you're going to hesitate. Because it's going to be a matter of, okay, I'm already looking at somebody I can kill, but also I see Genji up here in my peripheral. And then that Genji is going to make you miss this shot. And maybe you hit it, like, but you're putting yourself in a very hard situation. Like, obviously this shot's easy to hit for you, but the circumstances that you're putting yourself into, knowing that Genji's here, that's going to lead you to kind of panic and miss. Because of the hesitation, or if you're going to go for the Genji and full commit on Genji, you have a lot harder of a shot to hit. I think it's better to just kind of walk out and look and like just know, okay, is Genji up here? Okay, I'm going to focus the Genji, right? Or if he's going back to his team, then you can scope in. But pre-aiming the scope when he can be above you, if it's one thing if you're just looking for Genji, but it's still kind of scary. Like if these people aren't even here, you're just looking for Genji, you could assume that he's probably going to be up top, and you could maybe look for an early scope in to get that like early percentage in. But it's really scary when he also could not be up there, but also there are definitely people here that can contest you. And you're losing a lot of information. This angle is really hard in general and kind of scary on Widow.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you guys push them out, but that's not something you can do on your own. Curious, like kind of feeding. Honestly, at this point, you're probably gonna do this now. I would ignore this and just look for the Ana. Like, look for that cart. Because none of this matters as long as Ana is off that cart. As long as Ana's on this cart, all this is justified. So if you can just remove Ana from that cart, especially because she's isolated and there's no one to stop you from killing her, none of this makes any difference whatsoever. What's she at? This is still good because like we can't inherently get value by like getting kills. Like this is a very hard situation to get kills in, but we're pulling so much pressure away from our teammates. Like the Ana had, I was like, what does Ana have shields? But the Ana and Genji are both looking at you, and that's two people that aren't looking at their teammates and their team. And look, Zen even came back, so you're going to die here. If you get a lucky headshot, amazing, but you're gonna die here. But that allowed your teammates to win this fight.
Yeah.
And reclaim it. I would have. I personally would have backed off because I was like, he started backing up. I'm like, okay, maybe I get to live here, you know? Because again, dying is really. But that's what I'm saying is like, you've already proven yourself to be such a threat that they are chasing you that far like that. If you were just whiffing a crap ton, they wouldn't see you as much of an important threat where they're gonna bother going outside their tunnel vision of what they want to do and deal with you. You know, like the Ana would just kill you or like would ego you hard. If she didn't perceive you to be much of a threat. I like the headshotting through the window anyway, just for the flex.
Oh, to be totally honest with you, I did not notice there was a window there. I didn't even notice it just now. Yeah.
I mean, that's just good crosshair placement. Like you didn't need the window, you know, but it's just funny because it's just for the flex.
Oh, right.
But it's not a hard. I mean, he's just strafing at your crosshair anyway. But it's funny. I like that you're pulling the Rhine away. But as soon as he gave up, I would have grappled back up and looked for this angle while you still had ult. I mean, you have no one to touch, but you never know. Oh, maybe you do. Okay. Go for Zen. Oh, what a shot! Nice. Like these are very good fundamentals. Taking your time, cross replacement. Love to see it. And then so you have the aim to hit all the shots in the world. Ultimately, your aim is probably better than mine. Ultimately, honestly. But the problem is the positioning, and the two main things that positioning gives you on a Widow is A, opportunities, and B, the comfort, right? So, oh, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd heard his steps, and I still didn't go there.
That's really unlucky. But, alas. Anyway, so the main thing that you want with your positions is they provide you with comfort, because it doesn't matter how good your aim is. If you're in the middle of 5 people, you're not going to hit a shot. You might get some crazy lucky shot, but consistently you're not hitting a shot, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how good your aim is, right? So the main thing is you have the aim, so you need to try and boost it. Like, people use aim as a way to circumvent actually bother learning the game, right? But that only gets you so far, especially in this game. It's one thing if you're playing like Valorant or something, your aim can get you a lot farther. Oof. Yeah, I would have backed off a little bit early here.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Ryan just owns you, but I'm just worried about that Hanzo. As soon as I eat that first fire strike, I'm worried Hanzo's just gonna get a free shot off me and kill me. I mean, you still died to the other fire strike, but yeah. So you're looking for angles that will provide you the comfort, allowing you to be hard to kill. Comfort's anything that means you're under very low pressure. So you're really far away. It means there's very few characters that can really pressure you at all. So you have plenty of time, no risk, right? It's just a lack of a risk. That's unlucky.
That's just
yeah. And opportunities, right? So you have no risk if you're in spawn, but you can't say anything about it, right? So you need to find the angles that work for you in a way that provide you with as many opportunities as you can, with the right amount of comfort, right? Because again, opportunity, like you have 5 opportunities to headshot somebody if you're in the middle of their team, but no comfort, right? So it's finding that balance, that threshold of risk and reward. So you also don't want it, like, the more opportunities you have, the less comfort you're gonna have as well. Because if you have 5, even if you're super far away, if you have 5 people you can shoot, you're gonna have that choice paralysis, right?
yeah.
Like even here, like for example, right? Like Genji was adding to a lack of comfort to you, like adding like direct discomfort. That's why I didn't like this, is because you have the aim to hit the shots that you're going for, but the problem is you were in a circumstance, putting yourself knowingly in a circumstance because you knew Genji was there, where you're gonna make yourself very uncomfortable. So it's gonna make your aim worse. But you had a lot of opportunities, right? But again, if you have a crap ton of people, like all you need, like the best angle generally is an angle where you can see one person and you have the most amount of comfort. Because as long as you kill that one person, that's value, right? But that also needs chain ability, right? So like this angle, for example, like is good because it provides a lot of comfort, not a whole lot of opportunity, right? But it's just enough opportunity. That's why I love this angle, is because it's super comfortable, but you see just enough where you can maybe get a kill, right? And then you can deepen this angle, right? Like you have other options that can, it's not just angle, like one angle, right? It's multiple angles that you rotate from, right? Widow is less rotatey than other characters. But like this angle doesn't go any like deeper, right? Like unless you like can get down here and like look for something absolutely wacky, right? But like you wouldn't be up here if you could get away with going down here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like here this is also kind of a scary angle in a way because you have 2 choices and multiple choices within those choices, right? And the reason why I don't like this angle in this specific game is because the risk was higher, because you had the Genji and the Hanzo, both who did not care about this position any more than they would about any other position. Plus you're by the point, right? So it gives you a lot of opportunities, but not a lot of comfort. So this angle here provides more comfort. I mean, if they're pushing towards you, then that's less comfort, less opportunities, right? So again, not all angles are one size fits all, right? Like it just depends on the context, and that's where the skill is gauging the context and knowing which position will ultimately provide you the best benefit. But this will be the most comfortable with the most opportunities if they're going to where Alari is, right?
Okay. My Tracer is just much worse. And I give up very soon here because I didn't want to deal with the Junkrat.
Yeah, this is a hard map to make Tracer work on without doing some real shenanigan work, especially if Junkrat's there, because then he's going to be making it a lot harder for you to get those flanks off. Because it's not like Tracer, like Genji. I much prefer Genji on this map. I mean, I'm a hit scan player, but I prefer Genji, and that's because I also played Genji before I picked up hit scan. But he's more versatile to me than Tracer is. Certain maps I'll play Tracer. And I've picked up my hit scan philosophy on from playing Tracer and learning Tracer. But generally, in this situation, I would go Genji because he has access to that gap on the right side. Because I don't I don't like flanking through this tiny room here on anybody. Genji, at the very least, can make this work. You know what I mean? But like as Genji, like I can go up here instead and look for flank if it's a lot harder, or take the bridge. Tracer's just really hard to make work on this map, unless you are absolutely correct.
And my Genji is absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And I don't want to learn him.
That's fine. I'm not saying you have to play Genji specifically. That's just my example of this. Is like I prefer Genji because of X, Y, and Z. Tracer doesn't really work here in this kind of situation. But that's fine. You don't need to learn. I mean, Widow is already so strong if you can really learn to make her work. But especially if you play other hit scans too. There are very few maps where you're really going to feel a problem if you can play pretty much any hit scan.
Okay, say Widow's not working here on this first point. What hit scan do I swap
Sojourn
to?
by default. on almost any map. Like, it's hard to say like one size fits all, but generally you can't go wrong with Sojourn. But then it just kind of becomes personal preference, or depending on the comp. Like, I don't really care for Soldier here. He's just kind of weak in general, and there's not a lot of rotate potential until after. I main Cass, so I would be on Cass here anyway. Or Ashe, maybe. But again, it kind of depends on your tank. You don't have a shield tank. So you're going to be going into a Sojourn with an Orisa. You have an Orisa, which means she's going to be perma-charge full the entire game, going into a shield with their Reinhardt, and then you're going to try and play a sniper character that's going to get headshot very easily. This is going to go for both Widow and Ashe. I would be very surprised if you don't get dominated by Sojourn here. Like, it's... Even if she's not the best Sojourn, she has the most amount of chances, which is also going to make you more uncomfortable, because Orisa... Oh my god. But Orisa is going to get permanently like farmed by Sojourn, so she's always going to have rail up, which means every time you peek her, she's going to have that pressure, which is naturally going to make her more uncomfortable to fight, which again, the lack of comfort leads to lack of aim. So even if she's not very good, she's going to have 10 times more opportunities than any other Sojourn, you know what I mean? Like, so even if she hits like 10% of her shots, that's still a shot, right? But if she's better but gets, you know, like 5 shots, you're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, more opportunities, no matter, unless you whiff all of them, you're absolutely terrible. But like, she's not gonna be that terrible. You know what I mean? Well, that's unfortunate. So you're so uncomfortable that the only way that you're comfortable in fighting anybody is by going for those grapple shots, which inherently by themselves are uncomfortable because there's a time pressure to it, right? Pressure from all sides, whether it's time, even like the shots that should be easy, the mental pressure of, if I miss this, I'm terrible. Like, the embarrassment adds to its own pressure. That's why, like, the hardest shots to hit in the game are shots where they don't know that you're there, because you know there's an extra pressure. If I miss this, they know that I'm there now, and I blow some advantage. I like this angle though. Nice. It's like once we get that comfortable setup, we're good. But that's gonna be the main hard thing, is your Orisa's getting farmed, and you can't be as like much of a threat, because you're good for like 1 kill, but then the angle's blown and they're gonna hard pressure you. But it's at that point it becomes a matter of whether or not your team can follow up, and that becomes a matter of timing. Like here, that kill, like, your like team is basically dead. So on this map, it's better than some other maps because the respawn is so long. So if you're able to, and if you have a faster team especially, that kill can still work because there's still a longer time. It takes them way longer to get back than your team does. So there's still a window of time where you guys can fight 5v4, but it's going to be smaller.
Not if I die here.
Yeah, especially not if your teammates are already dead, right? So like, if you can get this kill early, that's the best kind of kill, is the opening pick, because it gives you the most time, the biggest, largest window of time to fight while they're down that kill, right? Which will lead, again, have more opportunities over time to lead to more kills, right? Which she might die. Oh, I caught her last second.
Yeah.
But that's why it's tough, is you just have no space to work with. So like, Widow's biggest advantage is kind of blown. So you're working purely off of aim here, essentially, because you're super uncomfortable. You have no space. All the shots are really hard to hit. So you're also a lot less of a threat, right? On attack, they have way more space to deal with you and are way more comfortable, which means they don't care about you as much. Like, what is that Junkrat doing? You see how comfortable he is, knowing that there's infra sights up, and he's just bot walking around a corner. You know what I mean? Like, he just does not see his threat. Yeah, that's lucky. And it's also really unfortunate that Yorick is getting farmed against a Reinhardt, but that's just the nature of defensive Sojourn. So as just a general DPS player, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, okay, my Yorick is getting farmed, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it on Widow. So what is the problem here? It's the Sojourn and the Reinhardt, essentially, right? Their Reinhardt is getting the advantage because Sojourn is blowing up our Orisa. So either we need to kill the Sojourn or deal with her in some way so our Orisa can blow up the Reinhardt, or deal with the Reinhardt to give our Orisa an advantage, or at least our teammates a better chance of winning to then pressure out the Sojourn. So it's why even something like a crutch Mei, you know, just a pocket Mei you just whip out just to cheese the tank and punish them for playing Reinhardt.
I know this angle.
But obviously that's like, oof. Say again?
I know that angle was bad.
Yeah. But it's just, especially like as the round goes on longer and longer, you build up patterns, and then all the surprise angles that worked before work less and less and less and less because they're expecting it and they're searching for it. Because it's like if they didn't see you on an angle before, you can be like, boom, I'm here, look for something, and they're gonna be like, oh shit, there's a Widow here, and then especially if they die to it, they're gonna be looking for it more often. They're gonna be ready for it when it does happen. Even if you catch them by surprise, they're gonna adapt to it more often. Because it's not gonna be like, oh shit, there's a Widow somewhere, I'm getting shot. It's like, oh, I know where Widow is because she was here last time, kind of thing. So this is where like Sojourn ultimately is why I say, because she also deals with both problems, right? Sojourn deals with fighting the other Sojourn, who can also, the Sojourn can also farm off their Reinhardt slightly less than their Sojourn can farm off your Orisa just because of the shield. But you can punish that Rein for dropping a shield as well, because then you can farm him. Plus you have extra mobility, plus you have AoE, like it'll just be a lot more comfortable. So hit scan wise, that's who I would probably choose. See, but again, like she's ready for that. If that's off rip, she's dying to that most likely. But you've done it multiple times because the round's almost over that she's like, oh, there's Widow there, I'm just sidestep it. You know what I mean? Like she hears the grapple, she knows where you're coming from immediately.
Yeah.
See, again, like you have the aim to hit that shot, but what's stopping you from hitting it is the pressure of this Sojourn has to die, otherwise we lose.
Yeah.
And then you are only able to fight her every 14 seconds or whatever her cooldown is, 12 seconds her grapple cooldown. Yeah. So you can only fight her every time you grapple. You get one shot every 12-ish seconds. So the pressure of I need to hit the shot now, in the air, in a short window of time, otherwise we lose, is building up and building up and building up. Plus, as time goes on, you're doing it more often, which means Sojourn, again, is anticipating it more and more and more. So you have the aim for it, but all the other things around you are making so uncomfortable that it's impossible to do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I wouldn't mind like walking out Widow here in like maybe the first minute or so of the round and like burning all these angles. Like going for all of this stuff that you've been trying this whole round, but like once, maybe twice per thing, depending on how much has worked. Because all it takes is one of these to work for you guys to be able to push up and win. But the hard part is the follow-up. On Widow, it's also kind of hard to follow up here. Like all you can really do is watch this, or maybe watch from here. But it's still like not amazing.
Yeah. So
even if you get your foot in the door, you're pretty much praying that your team walks through it for you, you know? So I would go for like maybe try kind of like go for that opening situation, especially because you can hit the shots when you have the most comfort and the most like element of surprise. But once you burn those, I would probably just swap Sojourn.
Okay.
If the Widow doesn't work, even then, like even if you do get something, let's say you go over here. Where am I? Here we are. Even if you do like say like go over here and you get a pick here, like if I kill Ana here, this is like at the start of the round. It might even be worth to early just grapple back and go Sojourn early and then retake this fight 5v4 as Sojourn while they're down on it, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It just that's gonna be a call that you have to make, whether or not you want to play Widow, because also fun matters too. I know all too well the horrors of just being like, oh, I guess I have to play Sojourn. And just crutching on Sojourn.
Giving up.
Yeah. But I mean you gotta do something, right? Like it's the thing, other like Genji as well, like Pharah, whatever. Like again, those things it gives you more options because again on Widow, like you have all these different side angles, but you're still funneling it into the same angle. But like Genji again, for example, he can go all the way around the gap, right over. He can actually like walk through here and fight this Junkrat. He can go over. He can go over this way. Like you have more options to burn essentially.
You know what? I think Widow can make that gap too, if it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely like grapple up here and then like grapple like up this way and look for maybe like a really bullshit angle, but you might be able to get over. But even then, like you're gonna be uncomfortable. You might get a kill. Like it's who knows? Yeah, like you know, last resort, it's an option, right? In theory, but yeah, it's just and the other thing is like you're the only one trying to make anything else work, even in there. I mean, you did mostly stay on Widow, but you at least try to go Tracer for touch, something like that, blah blah blah. We could see her all day talking about like, oh, you could have gone Sojourn, you could have gone Mei, you could have gone fucking Genji, whatever. But ultimately, no one else tried to swap either, right? No one went Ana. They don't have a Kiriko, right? And on an anting that Reinhardt makes a big difference. Nanoing that Orisa makes a big difference. Orisa not going Orisa makes a big difference. You know, so like he was like, hey, maybe I should go Diva or something and force that Sojourn off the high ground. You would have had a lot easier of a time, right? But your teammates are not going to do that. So ultimately in solo queue, your job as a DPS is to make your tank's job as easy as possible. Make him feel like he's a god, and basically boost him as much as possible. So like again, if you can kill that Sojourn, then she's not going to farm that Orisa, and then Orisa's not going to get farmed by the Reinhardt. So Orisa's going to feel like she's really good because she just walks up for free because all she's doing is fighting a Reinhardt and then just eating, you know, on cooldowns, with Fortify. That's kind of the gambit. Widow's kind of tough to make work on attack, except for under like certain circumstances, especially more so in like in Overwatch 2, you have a lot more options. Like again, like Sojourn, just being able to go Sojourn on defense just kind of stops any real hope of making attack Widow work. But like she's really good on defense, right? But that's the main thing, is just looking for those off angles and trying to keep yourself alive more so than trying to get that kill. It's very easy to greed an angle and be like, if I get this kill, I make it all worth it. That works on pretty much any DPS other than Widow, because Widow's entire value comes off of always being alive. Again, similarly to Tracer, she's kind of like an anti-Tracer in a way, like a reverse Tracer, where she does all the kind of the same stuff, but from her backline instead. So you want to try and stay alive as much as possible, because getting a pick is great, but having the constant threat of getting a pick is even better. If you can prolong that as much as possible, and also try to know what you're going for per angle, right? Like this angle, for example, right, as on first point defense, this is not an angle where you're like, I have a threat of getting a pick, so therefore be scared, blah blah blah, because that's an attention thing. That's like prolonging. This is, I'm going for a kill and I'm getting out, right? So you're looking for like a scalpel kill, right? This like up here is like I'm a threat. This is a problem that you have to put resources into. So like you have to know which angle. Are you trying to goad resources out of people whilst also looking for kills, or are you looking for kills while trying not to get any resources? Like this angle is an angle where you're looking for kills and you don't want people putting resources into you. You want to exploit the fact that your teammates are taking those enemy resources instead, if that makes sense. So it's look for, you know, and it depends on what you like, what the map is, right, and like the context of the fight, for what's better and what's worse. You know, in this situation, your teammates can't really do anything, so you're looking for kills. You're not looking for resources. But the more you try to burn, like the more you burn these angles, the more you're like, I'm a threat, look at me, blah blah blah. The more that backfires, because the less opportunity you have to get kills, and these angles don't really allow you past like the second, third time you use them to actually go for any kills without hitting like a really hard shot, like an insane shot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any questions so far?
No.
All right, move into Samoa. I think Samoa is probably my favorite, in terms of map design, favorite map to play hit scan on when it comes to control. Even though weirdly, I don't see Samoa, I'm like, yay, Samoa, you know, but like, there's just so many flank routes that you can make work on pretty much any hit scan, that it's just like, it's almost like it doesn't register in my identity of the map where I'm like, oh yeah, I have a lot of options. Because most control maps are just very tight, and it's very hard to get a lot to work without just botting down main as a hit scan or flanking on Tracer. Like Lijiang, oh my god, I hate Lijiang.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just again, unless you're flanking, if you're playing a hit scan, all you're doing is mostly playing main angles. Widow could be different on certain parts of Lijiang, but I don't really opt for Widow outside of, like, I don't find Widow enjoyable. So I only play her in like mirrors or like Widow maps like Havana or Circuit Royale. Or whatever. This was a dangerous to cross like this. Like I would go left side. And it also on Tracer, it's not bad to like I do this every time on Samoa. Every single time on cast, I walk out, I go this way. It gets harder and harder because as you get higher and higher up, people realize, oh, we should probably go for the high ground. But if they go main, and I can punish main by going, it seems like a really long flank route, but this is just wins the fight. Because I come here, I kill their backline. If I'm lucky, I live, but I know for a fact I'm guaranteed to get enough value where I kill maybe at minimum 2 people, and then I cause a commotion, people turn around, and then my team walks up, and we win that fight guaranteed. On Tracer, that's even less risky. because you're faster, but also
Yeah.
it's harder to like get those kills and secure those picks because you're tracer and stuff cast. So I would try to stay on this left side if you're going for kills. I mean, obviously you can't go here right now, but you could go this way. You could also look for a spawn kill if you like, but it's just tracer, so it's up to you whether or not you find that comfortable. But you want to take that Hanzo off, right? So like going for this instead, and you want to stay away from that brig mostly. And like going here isn't bad. Like this isn't terrible, but like the way you did it kind of burns it because they see you blink across, you take damage, and then like suddenly.
Okay.
You still have to fight them forward, right? You're engaging in their face. They can see you. I mean, there's still this element of surprise, like, oh, I'm jumping you, and then like this Hanzo has to be like, oh crap, I gotta flick over. But imagine how much easier it is as Hanzo to be shooting here, see the tracer over here, and fight tracer here, than it is to hear tracer blink, and then you have to turn all the way around to fight her, right?
Yeah.
So as Tracer, you really, as pretty much any hit scan, but as Tracer especially, you want to stay as far away from the main angle as possible, because that is the best way to just catch strays. See, like, that's really terrifying on Tracer, because as Hanzo, I'm not scared of a Tracer that's double blinking straight into my crosshair, because you don't have to move your crosshair, because she's just getting, you're just becoming a bigger target as time goes on, and he's getting more and more comfortable, right? And then you run out of blinks, and you have nothing to dodge with, so you're just fighting here like this against Hanzo, which, yeah, he's low.
I was just thinking he was low, so... Yeah.
Yeah, if you have enough to get on top of him, like if you had 3 blinks there and you could like get boom, 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 like right on him, look for a drill and melee before he has a chance to really get a shot off, that's one thing. But you only had like the 2 blinks. So it's, especially again, as you get better and better, like you got away with that, you know, minus recall.
But a better Hanzo would have probably killed me.
But as you get better, you're dead there. That's a headshot.
Yeah.
Like you got away with 11 HP, you know? And that's also assuming no one else shoots you there. If anyone else looked at you for a millisecond, that would have killed you with the Hanzo doing 90% of that damage, right? This is good. You know, it doesn't always feel like you're doing a lot of damage or whatever, because like the main thing with Tracer is you're either looking for attention or you're looking for a kill. With this is fine because you're instead of like hiding here and be like, I don't have recall, I have to sit here and wait for 18 minutes, or going in and fighting without recall and dying for it. Like you're kind of in this in between where it's very aggressive, but it's still a very safe position where you're just doing damage, but you're not enough of a threat because of who your team walking in and them fighting your team, that they're going to turn around because they're getting tickled by Tracer in the back. They're more worried about everybody right here. So you're very safe here, but you're also being like, hey, I'm still here, Hanzo. You can't look at me. You know, you can't like look away from me, right? You have to be wary that like Hanzo could push up and look for a kill here and help his team, but then he's opening himself up knowingly to you, which he's just not going to want to do.
Yeah.
So that's a very good position. I always wince just anytime walking in, like out into a Hanzo that knows I'm there. It's just terrifying because I just have so much PTSD from just getting domed around a corner. Lucky shots, good shots, like it's just unfortunate. Okay, so now they have the cast swap instead of the Hanzo. So that, oops, I hit B every time. So that play of like flanking and looking for that Hanzo, like looking to kill that Hanzo, and if you don't kill him, you go for the attention as a fallback, is kind of dead because now they have the Lucio. They have like you have very little opportunities for kills here because of who they have. So you're gonna mostly look for the attention. You're gonna want to really try to pull that cast's attention away because it's also his job to deal with you. And as long as you're keeping his attention and he doesn't kill you, then it's good for you. The second you die and you let him succeed in his goal, then all of it wasn't really worth it. Unless you do it for such a long time that you dying is not as much as the value of how long you took him out of the fight. And you're just looking for attention at this point, or marking their tracer. Like you have a more diveable backline than they do. Like you still have a lot of peel. You have the Baptiste, you have the Zarya bubble, so you're not terrified. But if push comes to shove and you can't really find anything on tracer, just marking their other tracer and just taking you both out of the fight, because she inherently gets more value just because of the comp. If she's a really good tracer, then it's really worth fighting her. Even especially if you're not really that comfortable on tracer. And you may not even be as comfortable in tracer duels, but if that tracer's wreaking havoc, even if their comp is technically more diveable, but if she's making do with your team and diving your team better than you can do, even if you have that comp advantage, it can still be worth just nullifying both of you and taking each other out of the fight, right? But if they are a terrible tracer, an absolutely garbage tracer, then if you take both of each other out of the fight, you lose out, right? It's because you're nullifying each other. So whichever tracer is better or gets most value loses in that trade. If that makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense.
They're off Brig though. That's a good sign. Lucio's still not.
Wow.
That's unfortunate. But you're pulling both DPS as long as you can live, or take a really long time. Because again, as long as Tracer's on you, she's not on your team. The problem is when she kills you, then she's won this flank from you, right? So she kills you here. Now she wins the opportunity to unimpeded go behind your team, right? So this is the important thing. That's what marking is saying, no, you can't have this flank angle. And then if you kill her, then you win the angle and you win the ability to flank. But on this map, it's kind of hard because she gets back so fast that you're going to have a very little, small window of time to do anything.
Can we replay that and see the route that I could have taken?
Yeah. Just wait a little further back. Okay, so you have a lot of people here. It really depends on how much is pushing. It also depends on what you're comfortable with keeping. If you have Lucio, Cass, and Tracer all chasing you, that is not a bad thing. It only becomes a bad thing if they kill you, especially the quicker they kill you. But like the more people you're fighting, the less you're trying to kill them. Like if I have a Cass and a Tracer on me, I'm not going for kills. I'm not trying to kill them because I'm not going to kill them. And if you think about it, the reason why getting attention is so good, you have to think about why dying is so bad, right? Why is dying the worst thing you can do in Overwatch? Technically, it's not. The worst thing you can do in Overwatch is AFK and spawn. But what makes dying bad is that it prevents you from participating in the fight, which participates in capturing the objective, right? Or pushing the objective, whatever it is, right? So, let's say if you die, it takes, say, like, roughly 13, 15-ish seconds, depending on the map, to get back from spawn. Maybe 20, for like the 8 seconds for respawn and then, some extra change to get back and depending on the speed of the character. So that means you're not participating for roughly 20 seconds. If you keep Cass's attention where he's not participating in the fight other than just shooting at you and, fighting you, but no one's not participating in shooting or pressuring anyone else on the objective for 25 seconds, well, guess what? You've essentially killed Cass and then some, right? But at the cost of you, right? The benefit of killing them is that you don't have to fight them anymore. You can move on to the next person, right? So you could go for kills on Cass. You could look for the duel and then, try to continue. But if you have Cass and Tracer, you're not going to win that duel because you were just outmanned, outgunned, whatever. It's just really hard to win that fight. So what you're trying to do is try to keep both of them for as long as possible. Because if you have Cass and Tracer for 10 seconds, well, that's 2 people dead for half the time, if you killed one of them fully, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? So you're spreading out the pie a little bit more, especially if you can live too. If you can be like, okay, this is too much, I'm out. Then you've gotten that and you've gotten away with it too. Because like at the end of this line, you're going to end up dying. So eventually some of that's going to come back because now you have to come back, right? That's what makes Tracer hard. That's why Tracer's really good at marking Tracer, because Tracer's one of the biggest advantages Tracer has in her tool belt is her speed. And she uses that not only to just find opportunities, but also to make it really hard to chase. Because like if you're flanking, right, like let's say everyone's like in this choke, I can shoot blah blah blah, get a bunch of attention and be like, hey, I'm a threat, right? Because they're always going to look at the biggest threat. Because if Juno is like about to get one clipped by you, she's not going to just sit here and just AFK in this angle. She's going to turn and look at you, right? Or like put resources into this fight. So let's say, there's a Cass here, he's going to fight you, but he can't chase you, right? If you, all you have to do to disengage is just go here. And then if he wants to chase you, like he's not going to catch up to you. So for every second that he chooses to chase you, you're going to win because you are winning value because he's never going to catch you. The possibility of killing you is not there. But with Tracer, she's as fast as you are, right? So she can chase you and she can make it so that way it's harder for you to reposition, right? So like you get Cass's attention, right? You can disengage, then maybe you can re-engage while he's like, okay, Tracer's gone, I'm gonna go do my thing and play the game because I'm playing a game for fun. I don't want to sit here and be boring and just hard hold this flank, right? I'm gonna want to walk up and play the game, or if you want to just re-engage from a different angle, right? Like if Tracer is chasing you, let's say this Tracer instead, she's just going to push you and then you can't do that. You can't get away because you have a Tracer on your back. You can't even re-engage here because you're, again, going to get killed by Tracer. So it forces you to fight for this angle, right? It forces you to fight her and it stalls you out. So it's not just a free grab of attention, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we're burning blinks for no reason here. Like that's the main thing is making sure that, especially as they're pushing up and we see that Lucio, it can very scarily, quickly get out of hand. So we want to keep our blinks up because we're not really looking to kill him because there's Lucio there. I'm not focused on killing him. So shooting him is not going to do much because again, all we're doing is going for attention, but he knows you're there. So he's still looking at you. He's not going to just walk up and be like, la-di-da-di-da and just not, you know what I mean? He's not going to just forget about you. So I wouldn't even bother looking to shoot, because also every opportunity you're shooting at him where you're not able to do any kind of actual damage, you're giving him an opportunity to shoot you early before the actual fight breaks out. So he wins that for for this decision. So you don't want to go for that. You want to just try and keep his attention. And he's really loud. You can hear him. You can play the audio. If he's going to the right, you can swing to the left, and vice versa.
Yes.
And then Tracer walks up, you can start hearing her, blah blah blah, right? So you're just conserving your resources, taking as much time as possible, because especially as you play like Ring Around the Rosie with this cast, it's going to take much longer for him to get around and fight you, and ultimately you're stalling him longer and longer and longer, especially because once he kills you, it's really bad, because guess what? Now he has the high ground off angle. He's won the best angle to have here in this situation off of you, so you really want to stall him out as long as possible. So you're playing a little too scared, and that's again, that's exactly what happened, right? You peeked out for the most minuscule amount of damage, and he headshots you, and you die for it, right? And you get caught out without recall. Because you had to burn it. So ultimately, what I would have done in that situation is, instead of like, again, obviously I don't peek him, but it's fine to like, if you want to go here, that's fine. You can just blink across and go here. But then there's Tracer here eventually, right? You don't know that at the time. So like, if this happens, then you can fight Tracer in here. Or if you hear that cast is coming back. Because if I'm on cast and I know that the enemy Tracer's there, but I know that my Tracer's coming in, I'm like, okay, I don't care about her anymore. Because then, as long as she's fighting the other Tracer, I can get value. I don't have to worry about her, like killing the Tracer. I'm going to look for a kill here. Because as cast, you could be like, okay, yes, I'm going to guarantee kill this Tracer faster and then move on. But you don't know what's going to happen behind your back. You don't know what your team's going to end up doing. So as a solo queue cast, again, my job is to make the tank's job as easy as possible. So if I don't have to, ultimately the way you do that is by keeping the Tracer off your supports, so your supports can keep the tank up, right? But if Tracer's dealt with momentarily, I'm going to go on their supports to make their tank's job as hard as possible. Because if I kill people here and win this fight, then it doesn't matter if Tracer wins against my Tracer, you know what I mean? Because then Tracer's got nothing left to do, because everybody's dead, right? So she's not winning that fight. So if in that situation, cast comes for you, then you back up, right? And then you just try to keep it. You want to stay close enough where you're still a threat, where they still like, keep them on the hook, where they still want to chase you, and you're not like gone. Where it's like, oh, Tracer's not there anymore, I can go and do my thing. Be like, no, I'm here, right? But just keep staying far enough away where you can always get out. And that's harder against a Tracer, because again, Tracer has the same amount of resources that you do. But if cast isn't there, it's up to you whether or not you want to take this fight, right? If you have the resources, it's up to you. You can take this fight and then look for that flank, right? Or keep going on this cast and keep him away. Or you can just fully get out. If you're uncomfortable, you can just disengage entirely. Just leave and then retake something else. But ultimately, it's going to be really hard to do that. Like, that's the risk and kind of reward. Taking the safe route, you're going to get no reward, because it's going to be hard to refight anything as Tracer here, because cast is going to be here because you gave him the angle for free. You have to go across here, like, it's just, you don't have a whole lot of extra options. So it's generally worth it to try and fight this or keep this away from them as long as possible to allow your team to win, which they're already kind of doing, you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, like, you were equal in that fight. You were actually a little bit, you forced her recall out, but you got your recall force. So if in that situation, also, sorry about my dogs being here. If in that situation, cast didn't headshot you and you get here, you would have had your recall up, and then you would have probably won that fight against that Tracer, because you still almost, if she didn't have recall, you would have killed her, most likely.
Yeah.
So if you just give yourself a recall in that situation, then you're up. See, but your Zarya, because you already kept that attention away, as your Zarya killed their Sigma, which means their team has to haul ass to get any kind of value, which you get back so fast because, again, you're Tracer. So even then, dying isn't the worst. Because if you think about it, you traded your own life for Sigma's, right? By keeping Tracer and Sigma away, or cast away from that angle for as long as you did, you allowed your Zarya to walk up with her team to kill that Sigma, and then you die for it, but Sigma's dead. And you get back way faster than Sigma, and you're way less valuable than Sigma. And this is a great angle. Like, this is just really good, because you're just fighting uncontested. You're just shooting people in the back. The more you can engage people from the back, when you first see somebody, you should see the back of their head, essentially, as much as possible. Oh, what a shot. That's just unlucky. I can't even be really mad at that. I could say that, like, okay, getting attention here, again, think about the biggest threat, right? They're going to pay the most attention to whatever the biggest threat is. What is say you're alive right here, what is the biggest threat right now?
Me?
Yes. No. The point.
No? Okay.
They're about to lose the round. So they cannot afford to worry about you. So you shooting at them does not make them have to go out of their way to fight you. So again, you're in the situation where you're not doing any damage, but you're giving Cass that win of time to hit that insane shot on you, right? Like that was ultimately, yes, that was a really lucky shot. But in this situation, I'm not looking for attention because I'm not going to get it anyway because they are more worried about the point. If I dive on this person and they're about to lose point, they're not going to stop to fight me. They're going to keep going. They might like shoot me on the way, but they just can't afford to worry about me. So I'm going to use that to go for kills, right? If you're not going for attention, you're going for kills. If you're not going for kills, you're going for attention. And what you do is depending on who the biggest threat is or what is, right? If your teammates are the biggest threat, like the tank by default is the biggest threat, if there's no point pressure or whatever. So you let him be the biggest threat, right? And then you go for kills there. And then by going for kills and threatening that kill potential, you become the biggest threat. So now you're going for attention until you are no longer enough of a threat and that Zarya walks up or whatever. It becomes a bigger threat. And you just play with that threshold. You play with the kind of hot potato of who is going to be getting the attention. And anytime they don't give you attention, you punish them for it. And every time you punish them for it, they're going to see you as a bigger threat. Same thing on Widow, right? They're going to see you a bigger threat, give you more attention. So then you take attention, you don't go for kills, right? So you play with that back and forth. So in this situation, you have to recognize, okay, it's overtime. They don't care about me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here maybe and look for a kill, right? Get really greedy for kills in this situation, or you can just stay around this corner, let Cass walk up and then drop in and go behind or whatever, and then you can just keep like gunning in for as much like greed and damage and kills as you can. Look for a pulse bomb, blah blah blah, because everything you do is going to be exponentially higher in value because you have the point pressure that is being applied to them. So they have less resources they can funnel into you, less attention than they can funnel into you, right? And so even if you die, if you burn so many resources, that still can be worth it enough where they don't have enough to fight the point with, right? Because all those resources that you're taking away are resources that they can't put into your team. Now, I mean, if again, like in this situation where you die instantly, you don't burn any resources. So now you're just down one, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Which I mean, they're going Roadhog into Ana, like Zarya. They could still easily lose this without you. Or your team can still easily win this, rather. Yeah, I mean... But this is something that we can't plan for, you know what I mean? Like, in another world, they don't have a Roadhog, and you can end up losing the round off that. Or at least losing that fight, which can later lose the round or whatever. We should be looking for a pulse bomb. Don't be afraid of pulse bomb. And pulse bomb is one of those things, again, like, it's hard to hit, so the more you can make yourself comfortable, the better. I find meleeing, like looking for a melee and just like trying to hit a melee on somebody, makes my pulse bomb attach rate go up like exponentially. Because if I just melee and then pulse bomb at the same time, I'm just looking for a melee, but I'm gonna throw a pulse bomb out at the same time, and I'm so close because I'm looking for a melee that it's gonna stick them. And it also shouldn't be. You shouldn't. It's not
Does
like
the pulse bomb animation cancel the melee?
I believe so. Like it sticks out at the same time. Like if you pulse bomb and melee at the same time, it just does it. At least close enough in Wind of Time where it just stick it. Also, pulse bomb. You're supposed to pulse bomb and then blink because you can blink through the animation. So that way at the end of the blink you're instantly pulse bombing. But I haven't even really bothered getting that down. And it doesn't really unless you're really trying to up your game on Tracer. The main thing is. Look at like Reaper Death Blossoms, for example, right? The most telegraphed ult in the game. It's impossible to get off just casually Death Blossoming because the way that it works conflicts with the way the character wants to play. So you have to play in a different way. Similarly, like with Deadeye, same thing with Pulse Bomb. You don't want to go for a Pulse Bomb. You just want to go for the same thing you always go for, but use the Pulse Bomb as an extension, right? So if you're going for a kill, instead of having to one-clip somebody, you can just stick them with a Pulse Bomb instead, which allows you to extend your flank, extend your resources, right? Save your resources for more kills, where you would normally have to burn more resources. Like, it would take more time, plus it's harder, so you might have to take more blinks, or maybe you force a recall on somebody that you could have just stuck with a Pulse Bomb and moved on, you know what I mean? So that's the more you telegraph it, the more, the more you make a moment of it, the more you're going to miss it. And it's still not the end of the world if you miss it. I like the Widow pick here. Love this angle. Yeah, a little scared there. Oh. Nice.
Is that the right call to back off?
It depends on who it is. I'm like deaf in my left ear right now, so I couldn't hear the footsteps. But if you know it's Ashe, it depends on your comfort. If you're comfortable in killing her here, then go for it. But it's never the end of the world to back off. It's better to back off here and get that kill than not and die for it. So I'm not gonna chastise you for that. But once you kill her here, you earn, and also you know who their DPS are now. You don't have to worry. You know they don't have a tracer because we see Cass and we just killed Ashe. So that allows us to deepen our angle, right? Go further in this angle where we can see more and unimpeded as well. Rather than staying on our safer angle. Like this angle is good when there's that other DPS to lie that we don't know. But as soon as we confirm that, as soon as we know that that angle is safe, we should go for this deeper angle as soon as possible. Unless like they're all the way up, but like no one other than like Roadhog has any reason to push past the angle where you couldn't just see them here. Like even if they do push up, you can see, right? It's only like if they get to where Roadhog is, where this angle becomes kind of hard to use, and like this angle could be better because you can deepen it like this way. But even then, it's still not that good. And again, only Roadhog's really going to be doing that, you know?
Yep.
Especially because the main thing of this angle is that, and the greatest thing about off angles, other than the fact that you're shooting people for free because they're not seeing you, is that it nullifies cover, right? That's where the real pressure on Widow applies. Because you're so far away on this random outpost where it takes so many resources to deal with you because it's time, cooldowns, having to fight you, that they aren't putting into the fight here on the objective. And they're fighting this fight, which means if they want to hide from this angle, they are exposing themselves to this angle, right here. So no matter where they go, unless they're in a really bad position where they can't fight anymore, they're open to one of you, right? Because either you're such a threat where they can't afford to hide back here, so they all funnel into your team, and again, your Zarya feels like the goddamn man because she just walks up into squishies that can't do anything. Or Zarya's the biggest threat, whatever, and you get free kills, right? Free picks, free pressure, whatever. Even if you don't kill them, you're pressuring them like, oh shit, there's a Widow on the side. Because even if you don't kill them, and even if they don't drop, like even if you whiff every shot, they still have to now focus their movement, like because they can't be like, oh, let me shoot this Widow because they do no damage. But you're gonna make it exponentially harder to hit any shots here, right? There's a Zarya walk up. If I'm cast, think about the discomfort. There's a Widow on my side. I'm gonna get a headshot at any moment. I'm not hitting anything. You know what I mean? Anything substantial. So you're making them really uncomfortable. Why is that Juno flying? Like you missed, but like, why is she flying? See, now they're on the tracer, which I'm deaf on my left ear right now. I have a blockage, but you can hear that, so you get out. That's good. What is she doing? Nice. That's good. I mean, that's good fundamentals with fighting Tracer, and I can tell you play a lot of Widow, because that's something that comes from just fighting a lot of Tracers, is like just getting around, hiding her around the corner, and then just holding her swing.
Yeah.
That's a little too much, but that's fine. I would have gotten out as soon as I miss that shot on Tracer, I'm gone. Because even if you like ego this Tracer, it's going to be you're losing so much time. Because again, attention, right? By staying here and you miss the Tracer, you're playing here for a little bit, but Tracer's going to be right on you, and you're going to be giving her all your attention. Which means even if you kill her here, let's say like 5 seconds from now, you kill her, boom, 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 whatever, that's how much time her team gets to walk up, and then now you're here, right? Which is going to be really hard. Even if you don't get punished for it, it's going to be really hard to get back to anywhere where you're going to be providing any value for your team. So essentially, you're trading the Tracer for as long as it takes for her to get back, for you for the rest of the fight. You're basically useless for the rest of the fight, even if you kill, like a best case scenario. Just because there's no good position, good shot, where you can fight them from. Which I don't know why they're still in spawn. And this is something you're getting rewarded for this because they didn't push out, mostly because I think Venture just kind of fed into the team. So Venture like feeding into to the enemy team stalled them long enough to let you to like get set back up, but that's not something that's not positive. That's something that you shouldn't. That's the kind of thing that makes a plateau happen, right? Because that's only something that's gonna happen in this rank. As you rank up, that's never gonna happen ever again, unless it's some crazy circumstance. So that's something that might be like, oh, this worked for me, so I'm gonna keep doing this, and then suddenly it'll stop working for you when you get to a point where they punish you for it, right? Now it would be different if it was like over here. If you're fighting Tracer like over here or whatever, and they were pushing up, I'm okay with that. If you're confident in killing the Tracer, great. Killer, awesome. Then you have something that you can deepen from, right? Like depending on where they are, like you have something to work with after. It's something that you're earning by killing her. all you're really gaining from killing her here is ego and confidence. But like after that, you don't win an angle because you can't use this flank angle. You know what I mean? And like this is gonna take way too long, and then you're in too shallow of an angle to deal with or do anything with. And you burn your grapple, so you're gonna have to wait another like 8 seconds depending on where you are to get to grapple back up like here, you know, or like over here. So it's like the main thing is like you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to do something very very difficult for no reward. So like very high risk, very low reward. You know what I mean? Whereas over here, the risk is the same, but the reward's significantly higher.
Okay.
So I generally would just avoid that right side like the plague. Okay. I see recalls forced. Oh, that's scary. Yeah, I guess you didn't see him.
Probably shouldn't.
Yeah,
I should have heard him.
Yeah, that's okay. But I mean, I'm sure if you did hear him or recognize him, whatever, you would have gotten out of the way.
Yeah. Okay.
But as soon as you see that, like, pretend Roadhog isn't there. As soon as you see that recall get forced, I'm not worried about Tracer anymore, because you're gonna recall back further to the right, and if she tries to use all her blinks to get to me at any time, she's gonna have no, like, especially in a situation where you're comfortable fighting Tracer, fighting her without recall is free as hell.
Do I switch it?
I hope so. Oh.
That's weird. What?
Okay.
I don't remember what I was thinking.
I mean, I can see how switching could be like kind of tantalizing, but also staying, because you're getting kind of 50-50 value, where if you are on the left side, you're getting a lot of value, but when you're on the right side, you can't seem to find much. And I don't think you're really like putting that value into those positions. So like you're recognizing like I'm kind of 50-50 on whether or not I'm doing anything, but I don't think you're realizing why. I don't think you're realizing like, okay, this side is when I'm getting nothing done, but when I'm over here, I'm getting a lot done. And then I just happen to get killed by Roadhog here, right? And like, that's again that positive and negative reinforcement. Like here, you died in a situation that's not something that you should like learn from. It's like you should have just hurt him and then moved on. Like that's not me telling you that isn't gonna make you a better player. So like obviously, yeah, if you recognize that he was there, you wouldn't have swung this, you know. But that's gonna put more negative reinforcement into this position. You're like, oh, I died here. This is a bad position. But also like here, you're feeling like I didn't die here and I killed that Tracer, so that feels kind of good. But also I don't feel amazing here. I can't get a whole lot done. So I don't feel like you haven't really built up that ability for the intuition, right? That's where the intuition comes from, by playing these situations, being in the situation, being like, this doesn't feel good. This feels better than, you know, it feels better to be over here. So I'm going to play over here kind of thing, you know? And the more you play, the more that builds up, because the more specifics you play in. It's like this entire fight, you couldn't do anything because you couldn't find a position. So now I wouldn't be surprised if you swapped, just because you were already kind of on the fence, I feel like, and then that, I think, solidified it because you went right side. Which maybe even going left side wouldn't have mattered because they pushed to spawn, but well, run it down, I guess. But we keep defaulting. Why do you default right side? You should have very clear cover. You're just egoing the Tracer.
Yeah, the Tracer.
Like this at least is this is best case scenario right side. You get a kill here, and then you use this angle against them. In this specific scenario, I don't hate this angle. I don't hate right side as long as you kill them. But the problem is you're gambling on this play happening, right? You're gambling on not only you killing that Tracer, but them not seeing you and you getting here in time to shoot them, and them not backing up off to point where they can't get shot anymore and your angle's burned entirely because you have nothing really useful, like nothing you can deepen to get any better value off them unless they back all the way back up to their height, you know what I mean? Because like here, because again, I can see why left side could feel bad, because like here, you can't really see a whole lot, and then unless you're like kind of on them, right? But once it's a kind of a late game thing. Like if you can get here, then you can see a lot. But then you get fought, right? Like
yes.
So it's a factor of timing. So I think just because you came out of spawn and where the enemy was, you feel more comfortable going right side because you are the least contested and you feel comfortable fighting Tracer. You know. So I don't want to like make it say like never ever go right side. You know, like just know why right side. Like know why right side is good and bad, right? And know why left side is good and bad. In this situation, right side's fine. Unfortunately, Roadhog killed your Ana, and so it nullifies the entire of everything because unless you maybe get a kill.
I was stupid.
See, but like that's the thing is like I don't blame you for even doing that necessarily, because what can you do here? You know what I mean? Like everything's lost. So like the natural thing is like, okay, let me go back here where I can like see somebody or something, you know? But like your Roadhog or their Roadhog killed your Ana, so you kind of already kind of lost that because you're not gonna be able to push up against, especially against a Roadhog down Ana. And Tracer's getting back, you know, right as soon as you went for that grapple. Which is why it's like, again, that that initial like short term like instant gratification of being like, okay, I'm here, I'm safe. Oh, I got that kill, even better. Oh, I can see a little bit something, and then that's dead. And then now you get no more value for the rest of the fight, right? Versus here, where it feels kind of bad to play initially because it's kind of uncomfortable at first, but once everything like progresses and naturally, as long as you can get it to progress, you have infinite possibilities, right? You can deepen as much as you need to, you can give as much as you need to. Whereas here, you may have an easier time securing the progression, but once you get to a certain point, which isn't enough to win the fight, you're dead in the water, you know? Which is specifically a Widow problem. If you're on like Cass or Sojourn, I could say you could go right side all you want. I would still go left side, personally. But you can play in that closer range. Yeah, this round's just a bit unfortunate.
What am I doing?
Oh, it's overtime. Yeah, I say it's overtime. There's not much to do. Another map. I mean, this is a map that you really want to get down because this is like probably the best map for you. I mean, it depends on their comp because like this next map can be really good on the edge side high ground, but on Widow it's a little bit harder to make work just because
I don't
you're
think
so
I play
fragile.
Widow here.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I would go Cass. Or like
I would go
Soldier's
Soldier.
fine.
Yeah.
Soldier. I say Soldier. This is one of the unique maps where Soldier I would be 50-50 on for going Cass, where I'm much more favoriting Cass. And also, you already have a Cass, so that's not an option. But this is the first map that like I really started working on the principles of off-angle flanking on characters that aren't flankers, like Cass, Soldier more so than you usually see. But the way that you do that is by going up here, right? Well, this and the first map. The first map is what really did that, was that full flank that type early. But being up here as much as possible is really, this is the power position. You want to fight for this as much as you can. Especially, we love to see Reinhardt because there's not a damn thing Reinhardt can do against us.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to go all the way out of his way to go up here, you know, all the way around, whatever you go up here, now he can't do anything up here, right? So he wants to drop down. He wants to play in a position where he can't deal with you. So you are giving him a dilemma, a choice, where he's going to be punished regardless.
Yeah.
This is also why I prefer Cass. That's unfortunate. Because if that Mega wasn't there, then I'd say Soldier's better here. But especially against Tracer, that you know that is playing Tracer. Cass, I think, is better. And also, I'm biased towards Cass. But he has a much more explosive windows of opportunity here. Because all the resources you put into fighting here are not punishable, right? With Soldier, if you burn a Helix Rocket on that Kiriko, Tracer could be like, okay, now I can fight Soldier without Helix Rocket. Cass, I'm not burning my Flashbang or my roll up here. I'm turreting up here, right? And then if they fight me, now I have a roll to disengage towards this Mega and Flashbang to fight who I need to fight, right? And I can also kill her quicker.
Cass.
Go ahead.
I used to main Cass back in the day, I think like in Overwatch 1, and nowadays he feels weak. I mean, the damage fall off is significant, and I feel like I need to play like a Tracer when I'm playing Cass.
Yes, and you kind of do. Any hit scan, like I developed the hit scan playstyle from Tracer. Tracer is the god hit scan. She is the the one before all that everyone comes before, right? But you just play it in a different way that works better for Cass, and even Soldier. Like I would still be here on Tracer, right? I would just use it in a different way versus Soldier or Ashe or Widow or Cass. They all kind of use the same angles, just to different degrees and at different ways, right? Soldier, he has a lot less burst and threat potential on angles, but he can rotate from angle to angle like quicker, right? Tracer has the ability to sustain more threats because she can disengage faster and has more opportunities, and also again can get deeper, whereas other characters may not be able to get as far as she can because it either takes too long or because she'd be intercepted, whereas Tracer can't be caught. Cass, on the other hand, he has the most explosive burst potential on an angle, with the least amount of rotate potential, right? Which is why I love this position on Cass, is because it's very easy to rotate. Like Soldier doesn't gain as much up here on Cass with the speed, because they rotate so easy, right? It's so quick, it's right there. But so on Cass you're not losing much, but he has a lot more tools to fight up here. he has a lot more that burst power, that burst potential. You see someone in the window, easy 2-tap. Tracer comes on you, you can kill Tracer a lot quicker than you can on a Soldier, and then you can come back and fight this angle faster, right? Whereas Soldier, he is kind of the opposite. You know, like he stays on angles a short amount of time, but stays on, like, rotates faster to multiple angles. And it's just more annoying than a threat. Cass falls more on the threat and less annoying. So you want to stay in these positions where they're hard to reach, but you can still kind of rotate faster. So like on Cass, I'm going for a threat here. As soon as I can't really kill any people, and like say like Cass is like in there looking at me and I can't like go for a kill, for example, then I back off, you know, and gain their attention, blah blah blah. And then as soon as they like give up because they can't chase me, whatever, they go for back for my team. I'm again that giving and taking of that attention. I'm going back for kills. So on Cass, you're going for kills more than you're going for attention, but you're still kind of playing with that. On Tracer, you know, she, again, the god, she can do either or as much as it, you know, the context allows. Whereas Soldier, you're going more for attention than you are for kills. If that makes sense. But with Cass, with the question with the fall off and all that, he was absolute dog shit. As soon as he launched Overwatch 2, Cass, the worst character I think in the history of Overwatch, honestly. Like the nade was terrible, and his fall off was terrible, and he kept getting worse because they kept nerfing the nade, which is his entire identity, and then also like the fights got closer quarters. And then he lost more and more fall off, blah, 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 as time goes on. But they have since buffed his fall off significantly. His flash is still, it's not nearly as good as Overwatch 1 flash, but it is still serviceable. It does like a good amount of damage, especially against Tracer. If you land it, it's pretty much a guaranteed kill as long as you can hit that shot, which I have no doubt in my mind that you can hit, or you can handle that shot. But he also with his long range perk, which this is round 3. It's you shoot 3 people and you get both perks, right? Like, so as soon as you get that long range perk, that's really where your value comes in on Cass, because then you can have more threat on an angle, kill people faster, right? Kind of like how I was talking about the pulse bomb, right? Using that to kill people quicker in a situation where it would just take longer, not doing anything differently than you would without pulse bomb. It's an extension, right? Same thing with the right click. It's an extension. It allows you to go a little bit further, sure, but you're not changing your positioning off the right click, you know, or whatever the long range perk. And also, again, it allows you, you know, you headshot Tracer, she has to recall, otherwise she's gonna die. So you flash body shot her, she can't recall, she's just gonna die. Especially if you can hit a follow up shot.
Wait, I'm sorry. Flash body shot kills Tracer.
Well, headshot with the right click. And when I say body shot, I mean with his perk, not his normal shot.
Okay.
Yeah. So you hit a flash and then you hit a body shot, she will die. She'll eventually be able to recall in time, but if you headshot her with that right click, she'll die. So you have a lot more tools with forcing that recall out very quickly, and then she can't, like, Tracer like triple blinked over here. If you force her recall out instantly, she's not fighting you for another like 40 minutes. You know what I mean? But on Soldier, you don't have that instant potential where, because also again, your Helix rocket is everything, which you burned fighting other people, right? So you couldn't force her out in time. So now she's just gonna recall back into you, and then she's gonna kill you eventually if you can't kill her in time. But that's why I like Cass. I think because you get the most, especially in solo queue, you get the most value playing like Tracer on any hit scan. Again, you just have to adapt the angle. If you think about it, as everything I was telling you on Widow applies to Tracer to some degree. It's just you have to change how you do it on Widow. Like on Widow, you use the same angle. You can just stay further back on the angle. You don't have to close as much distance because you have the range. Same thing with Cass, right? You have the distance. On Tracer, I'm still going right side. It's just I might, you know, gun down and then drop and then recall back up, blah, blah, blah. But on Cass, I can just stay up here and I can just play this angle, right? Same thing with Soldier. All the hit scans play generally the same. There are some specific scenarios where that might not be the case. You know, like Widow on like Widow-based maps, especially on defense, you know, you're just playing an angle. You're just holding a long angle from the middle of the team, but all the way back, right? Or like maybe Sojourn, maybe you're playing to farm that tank. Like again, on Eichenwald, Sojourn isn't playing like Tracer. She's just going to sit there and farm the tank and then shoot somebody with a railgun. That isn't the tank, you know what I mean? But generally, as a default playstyle, especially a solo queue, the best way to, again, your job as a hit scan is to make your tank as comfortable as possible. The best way to do that is by making their tank as uncomfortable as possible. And the way you do that is 1,000 different ways. That's how anyone plays the game, ultimately. It's just the way you do it is different. Supports do it by buffing their tank. You do it by nerfing the enemy tank, right? So by killing this Tracer here, you help your supports, because Tracer's not here. So then your supports can do that more unimpeded. And then you can walk up and then put more pressure on his supports, like the Reinhardt supports, which is less resources that Reinhardt's getting, which is just tipping the scales in your tank's favor, if that makes sense. So all you're doing is a very roundabout way of making your tank feel like a god. That's your entire job, is just making him as best as possible. And again, the way that you do that, it depends, right?
Yeah.
And then in as kind of a reward for doing that, right? You can use your tank again because he is also naturally by default the biggest threat. So you play this game of hot potato with their attention between you and the tank, and then on specific scenarios the objective with pressure, right? Because if your tank didn't exist, then you couldn't do any of this because they could just fight you for free, right? They don't lose anything by fighting you, but because your tank is there, every time they choose to fight you, they're not fighting the tank, which allows the tank to walk up and get the most value. So it's a win-win no matter what. If they fight you, great. If they don't, great. But he didn't push that. Yeah, once he gets further away, that's fine to push. But it's the amount of times that even in like GM playing cast, I'll be 1 HP. Someone rounds a corner to chase me and greed me, and I just kill them for free. What was that? Full spawn. Good shot though. So it's very. See, good thing Cass got in front of that for you, but it's very scary to round a corner in front of Cass. Okay.
Yeah.
He's dumb. That's good. Okay. I just shot that to shoot that, I feel like. Just pre-shooting that around the corner.
Do we like this?
I don't. Mostly because, not because you're going to die. Well, you are going to die for it because you went this way, but like you could have backed off and your LOS and your Baptiste. The reason why I don't like this is just because what are you going to do? Like you don't, again, you don't have to kill, unless you, again, do something kind of crazy. You're not going to kill anyone.
No, I got so tunnel vision there.
Yeah. But also if you were in this position, then you could have kept that Juno, like, further back. You could have kept that Juno away from this high ground, which means Kiri couldn't have TP'd here. Also, you could have still fought that cast from over here, where you're going to have that advantage. And then in this situation, you can just walk here, right? And then make them very uncomfortable. But you're the biggest threat. You're running down main, essentially. So they lose nothing by putting resources into you. Whereas if you're over here, they have to choose between main and putting resources in main, aka the objective, and the tank, and blah, 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 whatever, or putting it in you. And by doing this, it's fine if you can get that kill, then get out and live. But if you can't get that kill, you need your teammates to be here to like take the attention to punish them if they chase you, right? Like if you're in the like, let's say your tank's here, right? And you're here, if you can walk up and be here and like from this position and go for whatever, because if they put resources into you, your tank can capitalize on that. If your tank isn't here, any resources you put into them needs to kill them. Otherwise, they lose nothing in stopping you from like by matching you in resources, especially if you die for it. Because there's nothing that's going to capitalize on them being down Suzu or whatever, right? Or down health, even. Because all Baptiste is even trying to do is just chase you and heal you, which again would have been smarter if you went this way, but... Right. So I don't hate that because, like, you were feeding. You only fed as soon as you went to this room. If you just turn around, you would have been fine. But I only don't like it because there's not much you can do from there. You're like, again, you have good aim, but you're putting yourself in a very hard situation to get any kills with your aim. Because it's very uncomfortable. This is fine. Okay, I don't like this. I'm good with this because you're getting ult charge, whatever. But I wouldn't want to get too much, attention here because I'm gonna want to go here eventually. So I don't want to be like the biggest threat. Everyone knows I'm here, and then when I'm gone, they know where I'm gonna be because they know I'm gonna go here, right? But especially because my teammates are nowhere to be found. There's no one to think about but me. So I get a bit of my ult charge, and then I just back off and be like, haha, I'm resetting. I'm, going back to my team, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that way, I'm already set up in a position, which especially on cast, like, you have to kind of be there early because you're so slow. On Soldier, it doesn't matter as much, but it's a good habit to get into because if you're used to doing this kind of stuff on Soldier with the mobility or Tracer or whatever, if you try to play cast and do this stuff, you're going to be late 100% of the time. You're going to be super late, right? Or Widow even, for that matter. You're going to be super late. So getting into these good habits allows you to, it's never bad. You're not losing anything for doing this early. You know what I mean? Just because you have the mobility. It just gives you more. So I would just get my ult charge and then back off and not be a threat until my teammates come. And that way I could even get here early and then look for something, right? While there's kind of a lull. Because as my teammate, or as my team walks up, these people are going to start backing up and like be a bit more scared of here, which is also bad for us here. So especially, that's again why I like cast, but on Soldier it's a bit harder because again you're mostly going for the attention, which here is good, but like you're not going to do much because your team's kind of early, or you're a bit further back because you're early. But you could go for a kill if Kiri's like standing there comfortable on like say cast, and you could still get it on Soldier. But we're looking to maybe force a Suzu and then maybe back off and then goad Tracer or someone into pushing us early, so that way our teammates can walk up, and then again we can, because we are going to be fought, like this Tracer is going to fight for us, right? She wants to get us off this angle. So the later we wait to do this, to force this thing, the more Tracer is going to get value, because while we're fighting her here, blah blah blah, and our team's fighting, she's killing us because we're not using this power position. But the sooner we can get her to fight us, the sooner we can kill her and get it out of the way, so we can take this fight, earlier, in this position earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're in the right place at the right time, rather than getting there too late, even with all your mobility. You know what I mean? At least you're taking off angle. I don't like this angle very much, just because it's, yeah, that's it, right? There you go. That's that.
Yeah.
Or up here, for that matter. Like, it's the same thing. It's harder to deepen. This is good. I like this because they're backing up very far. Ooh. But that's the problem. Right? Oh. We good?
Yeah, I didn't see the last 10 seconds.
Okay, so like this angle here, like this angle's whatever, because again, it's very easy to block. This is good because they're backing up further, so like you have stuff here. But then you visor this, which I don't like. Not only because you're down a lot of resources, but there's so much actual cover here. Like, you got the attention, that's good. Run away, because if a cast is fighting you, blah blah blah, whatever, right? But it's also, even you burned all your resources. Swinging, when cast gets around this corner, swinging him is very scary, even with visor.
Yes.
Because you're as low as he is, and he has a higher kill, like DPS, right? He has a, so without those resources, and he could still easily have flash. I would not be surprised at all if you round this corner and die to him with visor open.
Okay.
Whereas, especially knowing you have visor, again, that kind of extension thing, by being up here, killing that Tracer early and having visor, you have just so many more opportunities here. Like here, this is it. You can look for like a deepen this way that takes longer, and like this isn't terrible, but you have to get really close and it's very uncomfortable. Like here, you can still get the same, like there's just an LOS everywhere, and it's isolating at every angle. It's so beautiful because you can fight just here and then not have to worry about anyone else. Or you can fight here, not have to worry about anyone else. Or you can fight here and not have to worry about anyone. You know what I mean? Like, you just have so much control over where you stand and what angles you're exposing yourself to. Because you never want to expose yourself to multiple angles. You only ever want to expose yourself to what you're fighting. Because there's no reason to expose yourself to multiple angles. Because all it's doing is allowing other people to shoot you. As long as you have the ability to swap to a new angle, right? This position would be bad if all you could ever see was this. But the fact that you can change the angle that you're looking at will, very quickly, allows you a lot of power. And makes the position very good, right? So you just have a lot more opportunities. Oh, okay, we got lucky.
Yeah.
I say you didn't get that lucky, but it was very scary having to fight that. Which at least you knew. You didn't like just gung-ho right into him. So like that's the thing, is like the intuition is there. Like I see why you went in certain ways. And I know, especially like on Soldier, you're having a hard time fighting this Tracer up here. So you're like, okay, this position feels bad because I have to fight Tracer, which I haven't been able to really successfully do that much on Soldier. So I'm just going to go left side and not have to deal with that Tracer, which is valid. That's fine. Like if you can't kill that Tracer, then it's better to go and get some value here than sit here and keep forcing and trying to get value here and not getting it. So I'm not super mad at it, but it is a matter of like, okay, here, this position's not very good, but at least, you're still good enough to know, like, okay, I shouldn't just run this cast down and die immediately, you know what I mean? But I would have waited until I was here to maybe visor. Okay. As Castle wants to walk up, then, or if he turns around and reads my rotate, then I'll let him push me. Because again, especially if I'm Soldier, again, the attention, not kills. The cast goes for more kills than attention. So cast is a bigger threat overall. So if I take the both of us out, I'm okay with that as Soldier. Especially because I had the Mega here. I can retake this fight and then maybe kill him, look for something. And then I kill him, win the flank with the visor. Now, visoring here is very scary with the two supports were here and Cass is here. But if Cass isn't here, this is a lot less scary. But you could even run all the way up here. Use those legs to then pull a visor here or whatever, right? Like, those are some options, but you just visored a little early just because you didn't have a whole lot to see. Because also, visoring isn't helping you much here just because where is there to really look at, you know what I mean? Because there's only so many places that they can stand. Your aim can be just fine, you know what I mean? I think you mostly visored out of, like, I need to get a leg up on this cast and kill him quickly. But you didn't need to kill the cast. That's why I think that you need to realize you didn't... Just because cast is fighting you doesn't mean you have to kill him. You with the mobility, it gives you the control of saying, I don't want to fight you, so I'm not going to. You know what I mean? But as Cass here, Cass doesn't get to say whether or not he fights you or you fight him. It's up to you whether or not, it's up to the soldier in this situation whether or not they want to fight. Because if soldier runs around the corner, there's nothing Cass can do about it, right? You're just not going to catch that soldier. So that's a very powerful tool that you have to realize, is it better to try and force killing this Cass as quickly as possible or whatever and maybe risk something and that's it, and or like take longer and burn more resources where I'm not able to do much more, or just say I don't need to fight this Cass to even get to where I'm going. I can go do what I kind of want to do anyway without fighting him if he walks up that way as you round, right? Because if you get to this position and he still wants to fight you, then you're like, okay, now he is in my way. I need to be here to fight these people. So okay, I need to kill this Cass. But then here in this position, if Cass, because you can hear Cass, like you should know by the time you get around here whether or not he's walked up those stairs or if he's coming back to catch your rotate. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna pop visor here, and then now your visor is significantly more effective against the half HP Cass or whatever. You know, there's way more open space where he can't hide from your visor, and then you can turn. You know what I mean? Versus like here, where all he has to do is sit behind that pillar, and then if you want to push him, then you die, right? I mean, he was dumb and walked up further this way, which again, if you pushed him, you would have died. Yeah. And it's even possible here. This is a little bit scary because you were half HP. If he didn't die to Baptiste, there's a world, right? He's hit that crazy shot on you before, you know what I mean?
Oh, can we take a look at the high ground there? I don't think I ever go for that, and it might be worth it. Yeah, is that any good?
Not really. Because, I mean, think about it. What does this provide you that this doesn't? You know what I mean? A little bit of safety.
A little bit of safety.
A little bit of safety. But guess what? You're a soldier. Are you threatened? If someone's shooting you here, are you dead? No, you can just...
No, you just run.
You know what I mean? So the safety isn't worth it.
Okay.
There's, like I said, there's very few things here that... And there's so much cover as well anyway that, like, there's never really... There's not even a good visor opportunity unless it's, like, they're all, like, right there, and then, like, you can visor here, and then, like, maybe drop down. Like, it's, you know, it's very, like, niche specific case where you would have to predict that being the case by the time you got up there, you know what I mean?
Okay.
That's what makes a good, like, position, is you have the opportunities, right? Like here, like, this is good if you want a visor, but if it's not a good visor spot, you still have options. You know, you can still look for stuff. But here, all you're hoping for when you're up here is that there's a visor that you can go for, maybe. But if that's not there, then this position's kind of null, you know?
Yeah.
So you have fallbacks. Nice. The fallback. Again, they're about like reverse. Like all this stuff I told you about Tracer when you were playing Tracer works the same for their Tracer. So all of this is very bad unless you kill her. You have to kill her here to make all of this worth it. You know what I mean? Which I'm saying I'm pretty sure you will. But keep that in mind. Anytime you are marking or checking Tracer, the two things that make fighting her worth it is A, killing her, or B, if she gets more value doing whatever she wants to do than you do if you were doing whatever you wanted to do. Which in this case, I would still say is true. Because if Tracer gets this flank, she can maybe do something. I mean, there's Cass here, so like there's that. But like this position, there's not a whole lot you can do. Because if you want to go over here, then Tracer's still going to fight you for it. So like, I don't hate you going for Tracer here at all.
Cool.
Especially because, again, killing her, like, you're not super far away where if you do kill her, you have to run 8 miles to get back to, like, you know, you kill her, you take 2 steps and you're back in the fight, right? Whereas, like, if you're fighting over here, like, Tracer's, you know, you chased her all the way over here, yeah, you killed her, it took 40 minutes, and now you have to take another 40 minutes to get back to the fight, you know? Again, because also, the longer it takes for you to get back to the fight adds, like shortens the window of time that it takes for her to respawn and get back, you know? Which is already such a short window, because she's Tracer. Nice. This is where we rotate. We take our kill and then we rotate. Like,
yeah.
We get this cast. We can't see.
I'm in pain looking at myself doing this.
That's good. That's good. That means there's always the disconnect between. You always know way more than you can achieve in game, right? And the more you can make that knowledge more inert and more like a feeling, a visceral feeling that you can attach to it, the more again that intuition, and you can just do it in the game, right? So yeah, once you kill this caster here, like you just need to like look for a new angle, right? Look for something. Again, on Cass, if you were playing Cass, it may not be worth it to walk all the way over here. I might still greed this personally. Just again, this is such a power position. But on Soldier, you have the luxury of being able to take this extra greedy flank, to get up in this power position, to take this carry off of it. So yeah, whoops. I did it every time, man. Every time. I'm fat though. It's like how hard this is to fight. Imagine you're up here and then she's where you are. You know what I mean?
Oh.
See how hard it is to fight her? So now we're getting chased out because everywhere we go, like we have the mobility to outrun them, but eventually we get cut out by some other angle because we're on the same level as them. They're always able to access where we are in a very short amount of time. So like we live because we're fast enough, but if you're on the high ground, they just can't fight you. You know what I mean? Or they take so much time to fight you that you can wait 90% of the duration it takes for them to get up to you. Like if you're up here, for example, whatever. If Reinhardt wants to chase you the way he does, it takes him 30 goddamn years to get over you. And then by the time he gets here, you can choose to run away. You know what I mean? Like you can take all this time out, be like, I'm up here. You need to come. You need to keep doing what you're doing, which is very bad, and then nullify it by immediately dropping. You know what I mean? Because now you go into a position where all that he just did matters not. Which, I mean, that's never gonna... I would be absolutely shocked. I will roll in my grave because that is how long it will take to ever for that to be a scenario where Ryan's going to chase you all the way over here, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, as an example. Okay. Now, you might think I don't like the dropping here and, like, losing high ground. But it's kind of 50-50. Okay, well, if you did, it's because naturally I would say dropping here just by default is bad, but because of that Kitsune, because they're popping ults to push up, dropping here isn't terrible. It's not amazing, but you're applying point pressure, which especially as soldier, it's all about applying pressure, right? And if you can't kill people like this position, like if they weren't pushing up, you would have more pressure by killing than dropping, because if you drop, they would just turn and look at you. You're not capping point or anything because they're on the point. But here, since they're walking away, you don't have a whole lot of kill threat here. But by getting on this point, you are now putting point pressure, right? So now they're like, okay, we either need to push in further and get the kill, blah, 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 whatever, and lose the point maybe. Or we need to back up and cancel. And either of those options is fine for the enemy team. The problem is when different people make different decisions. So this Juno is deciding, I need to back up, while Kiriko, Tracer, and Reinhardt are like, I need to push in. You know, so you're giving them two decisions to make, and people are going to make different decisions. They're not all going to make the same decision, you know what I mean? Which is going to lead to you being in a position, I mean, pretend Reaper isn't here, because that's unfortunate, but if Reaper isn't here, that's going to lead to you getting a free 1v1 against Juno, because Juno alone has decided to come back for point, because she's closer to the point, so the biggest threat to her, the biggest threat in general to her and the pressure is from point, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Plus, your teammates also always have the opportunity. I don't really know what's going on over here, but they have the opportunity to just back up and then nullify that Kitsune. Because as soon as they kite over here, like this is a terrible Kitsune, but as soon as they kite over here, they're out of the Kitsune, right? So if they can get them here, they just back up to point, and then Kitsune is busted, right? Like it's done, and then you're in a position where you can fight them as they want to rotate. Like Reinhardt and Tracer will probably want to keep pushing this way, but the supports are going to want to back up and go this way, right? So you're there ready to catch it. Which, I mean, all of this to say doesn't matter because Reaper's right here, and it doesn't matter, but you know. And then in the future, the next time he kills you, oh, you take the fight. See, now I don't like this. So as soon as like again, Reaper is amazing here for you because he cannot fight you unless under very specific circumstances, and those circumstances are him being on top of you, which never has to happen. You know, you can just run away. Yeah. And the best thing is you can run over here. So you're doing two things at once. You're running away from Reaper. So he's useless for as long as you're running away. Like, he's not doing anything here. He's in his spawn fighting nobody. But you are rotating to a high ground, right? So you're not fighting anybody, but you're setting yourself up for success to fight people later. Now, Reaper can teleport up here, but not in time by the time you get up here, and then you're ready to fight him, right? You're in a position where you can fight him because you have your resources up. Especially once you get on like half HP. Like, not there, but like... Yeah, like instead of like hiding there, if you just kept running. Like... Screw this, I'm running up here. He's half HP right now, right? Yeah, like half HP. You're around the same HP. You can get up there, plant your healing thing down, and the entire duration and the weight that it takes for him to get up there, you're healing and everything. And then you just pop him with a free helix, gun him down, melee, and then he's dead. And then you have the high ground position.
Yeah.
And then you're retreating downhill too.
Man, I felt like I had such an advantage there with full HP. But
I mean, to be fair, you still should have won that. You just went for more of a direct helix, like. But again, that's the thing, is you're putting yourself in a more. It's not that you were worse than that Reaper. You just put yourself in a position where you were at a bigger disadvantage because of the comfort and because you put it all in hitting that helix. So like here, you're downhill. As soon as he burns Wraith form, I don't need to fight him in here anymore. Again, because the thing about like killing him, it's like I want him dead, so I don't want to worry about him. And he's not participating. But if you run up here, you don't have to worry about him because he doesn't have Wraith form. He's not going to fight you. And if he does, you can kill him. And he's not fighting anybody else because again, no Wraith form, and he's all the way over here. So you're still doing the same thing as killing him without the risk of dying and without actually having to bother killing him. And then you can kill him later. And again, where he's hiding, you can reach with this position, right? Like if he's over there, if he wants to go for this mega, you can catch him, right? If he wants to go somewhere else, you can catch him here. If he's down here, you can come down here, right? Or let's say he doesn't teleport. Let's say like he goes over here. Like you run away, he Wraith forms away, he goes over here. By the time he's about like here-ish, you're already like here. And then you can fight him like this, right?
Yes.
And then if he wants to advance the position, you kill him. If he can only retreat. So when he retreats, now you can advance. Right now you have this really powerful position against him, like powerful position against him. You're gonna kill him. There's nowhere he can go where you can't catch him, and also everywhere that you fight him from, he cannot fight you back. Here, the only difference is he can fight you back.
Yeah.
You're not in any better advantage in fighting him than if you were over here. I mean, you're putting in a shorter window of time, so you can kill him quicker by going here, but by going over here, you just have a lot more. Like it's also like by running over here, you're like, okay, I'm not killing Reaper, and I'm not like fighting right now, but by going over here and fighting him, you're like, okay, I'm participating, I'm fighting him, I kill him, then I walk up this way instead, which isn't bad either. Like this isn't like terrible what you did. It's just a matter of like he was 1 HP. You just missed one too many shots, or you know, a little bit too much of a helix. But this position's safer, and then you can still do what your goal is. You can still fight from here, and then fight the Reaper if you need to, and then you can advance this position as needed. You can even like come down here and fight here. Like you can do whatever you want, and as the fight advances and they move.
Yes.
So the main mistake that you made was just you should have just shot the ground with helix, like in front of him, and also you ran around the corner, like you ran and jumped around the corner, which to like kind of jump him a bit, but without helix rocket, I'm not worried about like jumping him like this. So you're just making it harder because you're in the air to hit his helix. True. So you're aiming way too high, so then you whiff your helix entirely. If you just aimed at the ground in front of him, you would have all you needed to hit was like an inch or a sliver of that helix rocket, and it would have been enough to kill him because you aimed the rest down because you were naturally on that high ground fighting him. If you just fought him like this the whole time, even without helixing, you would have killed him. Because not only did you not kill him with the helix, but also you weren't shooting while you were helixing, so you spent the entire time while you were helixing not doing any damage. So the main thing here is you were off-angling, which is really, really good. The worst thing you can really do is just kind of be passive on main as 90% of the hit scans, unless you're on a very specific map or fight. Like I said, like Widow is an exception because if you are a problem on the main angle and you can stay there and be a problem on the main angle the whole time, then that's still good because you're fighting for the objective, blah, blah, blah. Especially because a lot of maps, it's hard to off-angle on Widow. It's like Junkertown, Havana, blah, blah, blah. That's fine to be on the main angle. Or Sojourn, whatever. But pretty much anyone else, off-angling is really good. You're just kind of picking the wrong off-angles because of the short-term gratification or like match-specific events that happen that lead you one way or another. Like here, Tracer's fighting you here, so then, and you can't quite kill her, so you're like, okay, this doesn't feel good because Tracer's fighting me and I don't want to fight Tracer, so I'm going to go this other way, which leads you down another path of, you know, or a can of worms you have to open. So the main thing on like Soldier and Tracer is using your mobility to like take attention and not always go for kills. Like you don't want them to know whether or not you're going for a kill, but you should always know when you're shooting at somebody, whether or not you're trying to kill them or whether or not you're trying to get attention. Especially on like Tracer or Soldier or whatever, know that you don't always have to be actively shooting somebody to gain their attention. Like with that second map, for example, on Tracer, or was it the first? It was the first map on Tracer when you died at Cass and then Tracer, or you got headshot by Cass and you got chased down by Tracer and Spawn. There he knew you were there. You weren't getting attention by shooting at him because he was already giving you attention. All you did was give yourself an opening to get shot where you can't fight back, which seemed kind of principle here. As Reaper down here, you can't fight back, but you're still getting fought by Soldier. It's the same thing as Tracer where you're shooting too far away, where you're not actually fighting the Cass or gaining attention, but he can still fight you. You know what I mean? So you need to play your range effectively. Same thing on like Widow, it's the opposite, right? You want to play further away where you're outranging them. Because if you get close, you still have that like one-shot potential, but it's, again, really hard. And you don't want to like crush on like hitting crap, like bullshit shots and like bail yourself out of terrible positioning with your aim. You know, your positioning will only ever benefit your aim. So it'll only ever get better and better. Just because you can do something that normally wouldn't work just because you aimed at, you know, your way out of it, if that makes sense. So not every position is like one size fits all, because again, you know, it matters like the context, because again, even here, like it wasn't necessarily like inherently wrong to say, okay, I don't want to fight Tracer here, so I'm gonna give up this high ground position, and I'm gonna go to the worst position, because that's what the Tracer earned. That she earned the right to force you to a worse angle while keeping the position herself. Now, I would say the best thing to do is make it so that that's not an option anymore. That like I'm not mad that you picked that option, but I would say try to get better at these kinds of fights and these kinds of like getting better in a situation where you aren't pressured out by this Tracer anymore, where you can comfortably fight this Tracer, so you no longer have to make that decision to do a worse thing and compromise. So you can always take the best available option, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any questions?
No. The Surabasa game was weird.
They always are. Survos is very 50-50. It's really fun if you have a good team that like is working together, not just good on their own, but like actually like calming and working together. But I find like no comms, just like kind of autopiloting Survasa is really not fun. Especially Flashpoint in general is kind of that way. Like I don't find any like Flashpoint, just normal solo queue, no comm, whatever. I don't find that very fun. I don't like this because again,
okay,
there's not much of a threat. Like you're not forcing any cooldowns out that wouldn't necessarily get forced out. You maybe can with the Helix, but all you're gonna do is charge bubble. Yeah, it's gonna get deflected, whatever. But like these cooldowns will probably still come out regardless from like your Sojourn, for example, or what other people putting. Like that's the thing, that it's not giving them a dilemma because this is the main angle, right? But like if you go over here and they have to like put resources into not taking damage on this angle, that is one less cooldown that they're going into the main angle without, if that makes sense. But like here, even if if you're still forcing this cooldown out,
I used to go right, like over there where you said, and it feels like I don't have a good escape route there.
Why do you think that? What makes this hard to escape from?
Close quarters.
But so you need to keep in mind with mobility, the whole map is your oyster, right? Okay. So you can always just run away and use again the threat factor because again, people will only pay attention to whatever the biggest threat is at the time. So if you run away far enough where you're no longer enough of a threat to be worth putting attention into, then they will give up on you. And then you can then regain something, whatever, as far as you need to run and then come back. You can always run away too if you need to.
I guess I also feel like it's kind of a bad angle in the sense that it doesn't give you much vision on the enemy.
No, it doesn't necessarily. Like it depends on which way they fight, but it gives you. This isn't inherently. I'm not saying this is 100% better than this angle or anything. Again, it's context dependent, but learning why, like the principle. What can you do here is maybe you force certain people, like maybe Genji wants to come over here and deal with you instead of coming down main, right? So like normally like there's nothing over left side. So the only thing that makes people want to go left side is like just because they want the angle themselves, which also this is at the start of the fight. You don't know who they have or whatever. So it might be worthwhile to go here just to keep them from getting this if they want. Let's say they have a soldier or something or a tracer that wants this angle for their own purposes. Now you're giving them an obstacle that they have to fight for. And then if you win that, then like it's not amazing for you, but depending on if the team walks into point, now you have a decent angle. You can also flank, look for maybe some stragglers, or take this angle from them. Like you have options still. Like I said, this isn't a terrible like choice or anything, but it's very quickly going to get very hard to fight here because it's very close range. And again, like you force a bubble and a deflect, but that's not as bad for them. Like they still might, like the thing is it could either have gotten forced regardless, or yes, you did force it, but it's still the main objective angle that they're fighting for. So it's not as waste of a cooldown as it would be normally. Whereas if you forced a bubble or a deflect over here, again, they're going into this main angle and fighting for the objective down that cooldown, which they're still doing it a bit early, but it's still allowing them to save health and resources to get further that they would have lost if they got hit by that Helix rocket, if that makes sense, or other things. And you're also feeding Zarya charge if Genji doesn't deflect it. There's also this angle over here, and this can be deepened on as much as you want, depending on where the fight breaks out. So the reason why I mainly don't like this is because it dies very quickly as an angle. As soon as they walk up to the staircase, there's nothing that you can do but turn and run to another angle that you could have already been on. You know what I mean?
Would it be better to just route to the left?
Here?
Right at the start. I mean, go up the stairs, like all the way around.
Like just from the very beginning, like go this way kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's also another option, right? Is like going for this way early and then like looking for this early. And then as they walk out, because again, the cover thing, as they walk up, if they need cover from here, what are they going to do? They're going to back up and take over here, which opens them to you here, which Zarya is unlikely to do, right? Zarya wants to walk up as quickly as possible, which especially if you give her charge early by shooting a Helix rocket right into her bubble, she's going to do that a lot more effectively. And then force you off, because again, you're going to have to do the same thing that you would do regardless, because you're not going to be able to stay here for very long, because Genji and Zarya are going to push right up, and then you're going to have no space and not do anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just turn and do the same thing anyway. But all you did is force charge. Yeah. And it's also character dependent. Like on cast, I don't want to go this far because again, I don't have mobility, so I'm kind of stuck wherever I am. If Genji wants to fight me, then it's up to him whether or not he wants to fight. It's still not. If you could be here, it's still good on cast. The hard part is getting here in time. So I generally prefer staying like over here, or like you can just kind of play this window. Like even on Soldier, you could just play this window. But the problem is like you're gonna get shot by a bunch of shit. Like this is an option. It's not always the best option. I'm not saying this is even a good option. It depends on the context. But like Genji's gonna want to fight the Ana, right? So you can stand here and make it so that Genji can't fight the Ana and still get a decent enough angle, right? It just depends. Like the answer is always it depends. But if you can understand why the different angles can be good or bad, you can go into your next game and like this angle might be really good if guess what, the entire team goes this way. So next time you play Saravasa, you might be like, okay, coach told me to go left side, so I'm gonna go left side. Oh shit, here is everybody. I'm dead. You know, so it's not just like do this thing that I'm telling you. The main thing is I'm trying to convey is why things are bad or good. And then so you can be like, okay, the entire team went left side, so I'm going to go main. Which, I mean, in this case, you wouldn't know because it's the beginning of the fight. But the main thing is, like, not all games are the same. There are defaults and things that you can play around of. Like, going here is... The reason why this is fine to go is because it's very unlikely that you're going to run into this problem that a bunch of people are going to be here. Usually, at best, there's going to be one person here that you can duel. But that doesn't mean it's impossible that the whole team doesn't just go this side. But you're playing the odds and the chances of things happening, and then you adapt to when you do see them happen. See, I hit B again. Oh my god. Okay, a little bit of tech. So the main thing is they didn't push up. You got kind of lucky. They didn't push up at all. Use any of that charge that was forced. Because if they did, you would not have been able to really do this window thing. Like if you came up here, like this is good. I'm like this is a good thing to know. But if Zarya did decide and Genji did decide to walk out and push up and be here, that window thing suddenly does not work nearly as well. But also going this way, the way that you did, they decided to back off and go right side, right? But like say if you were right side, then maybe it makes it unsavory to push this, you know, or maybe they do want to push it still, but you might get a pick for it or something. Like you have pressure, you can pressure it, make it harder for them to do what they want to do. Here, naturally, they want to go left side. Soldier's here. Now I want to go left side a little bit less, maybe, as like Wu Young, because I'm scared of Soldier. Or maybe Zarya wants to push you. You know, like that's not inherently good or bad, whether or not they want to be there. Like, guess what? Here's Soldier using this angle to then flank your supports and probably is going to kill one of them. But if you were right side, you would have had to force him to fight it, which he probably still would have won because he had 3 other people here coming. But what I'm saying is like the chances of things happening. And also this is so far away. Yeah, this is so far away that you can't do any. You already do so little damage on Soldier anyway that like this is in this situation. If I go main like on cast, I'm not nearly as like quote unquote mad at this position, just because you do a little bit more damage, but also you're safer here. Whereas like on cast, if this was the same situation, it would be a lot harder to get away. We would have more of a threat, so you could just kill that Soldier a lot quicker and have a higher chance of being able to fight your way into staying here. But it's a lot harder to disengage, a lot less safe. But on Soldier, you're doing you just do no damage here at all, and you also have to wait so much longer to start even shooting anybody anyway. But you can afford to be here because you can always choose to escape. Because even Soldier can't catch you because you can kite him around corners. You know, as long as you don't wait too long and like greed the position to where he's so close to you where you can't run away. Because you can kite him around a corner enough where he's away from his team to take those 3 other people away from him and then take an actual 1v1 against him. Or at least keep him from taking that 1v1 or that free flank or whatever against your Sojourn. See, like this, okay, you got Life Weaver. Like that, what just happened there is what would have happened if you had stayed main and they had also pushed and stayed main. Like that's the same thing that would happen. It just happened later down the line, you know. Okay, that's scary.
Oh, this, by the way, is not a game where I felt like I played well.
Okay.
It's just
that's good.
a
That's
game
that's
that
good.
I was weirded by, I guess. Just didn't know what
Yeah,
to do.
that can happen because that's the thing is also these. It's again comfort, right? Like this map and this game mode in general is very fast paced. There's a lot of angles, a lot of shit, and a lot of variables that can happen that can make you very uncomfortable. So one game, all the variables can be in your favor. You can be playing really well, and another game, you can feel like you can't do anything because all those variables are different, right? There's more things that can be different and be something that you've never really had to fight before. So like here, I don't mind this play necessarily if Sojourn wasn't here. As soon as I see Sojourn here, I don't want to be where Sojourn is because I want to take an angle that is like, because again, it's all about putting value. As Sojourn, I don't want Soldier to come here either. Like if like that's the worst thing. That's the sucky thing about having 2 hit scans is you both kind of want to be in the same place generally, and both of you being there is bad because then it means you're covering the same space. So like as Soldier and Sojourn being here, I want to kind of stay here. I kind of want to be like not as much of enough of a threat to where they push me out, so that way I can further advance and advance and advance and then get to something juicier. But if I'm Soldier and Sojourn here, suddenly they're like, we need to get them out of here. So then this play kind of gets devalued very quickly. And not to mention, you're running over to Sojourn, who is already getting attention from other people. So that way, like, if Sojourn wasn't there, Zarya wouldn't have turned the way that she did, so you would have gotten further without her attention. So much so that Zarya probably wouldn't have even turned for you because it was so late. But she turned early for Sojourn and then happened to catch you at the same time because of the timing.
Yes.
That makes sense. So the biggest, like, the whole point of off-angling is by initiating the angle unknown or unnoticed. And also not being worth chasing and getting pushed out of it. But the more people you have there, same thing with the mercy pocket. I hate getting mercy pocketed because it means I am more valuable on an angle, which means I have to always like go and stay for attention. You think, oh, mercy pocket, I get more kills. But all it allows me to do is just kind of feed in a main angle. And that's the only really way you play a mercy pocket. But if I'm trying to off angle with a mercy pocket, I'm always going to be getting attention because I'm constantly going to be the biggest threat because I'm a mercy pocketed hit scan, so I'm never going to really be able to get as much value because that damage boost isn't worth the amount of attention I'm receiving because I'm damage boosted. Same thing like nano boosting somebody can get them killed because they become so much of a big of a threat that everyone decides to target focus them because that's what you're using is a lack of coordination. But suddenly you are the biggest threat to everybody. They become coordinated real quick, not by like doing it with each other, but by doing the same thing, kind of like a synchronized dancing. Nobody is like looking at each other and like timing it properly. They're just learning their dance so well and so like perfectly at the same time that they all learn it so that if they start at the same time, they're consistent enough that they just happen to be synced up. You know what I mean? They're all doing their separate thing individually at the same time. So I don't know if that like analogy really makes sense, but by putting all your eggs in, in this one basket, it makes it, crush way faster, if that makes sense. Actually, Zara didn't even see you until you shot her. But regardless, all of this is too late anyway because you started from a position that died so quickly that you spent more time rotating. And then you rotated too late. So you had all this mobility, which can lead you to a false sense of security where you're like, oh, I can always rotate. I can go here and then dip really quickly. But what it leads you to do is rotate to a position that's dead by the time you get there. Okay, this is good. But not right now. You know why?
Because my team is dying and they're just gonna force me out.
They just died. So there is no threat here but you. So they're gonna, it's still not inherently zero value. You're probably gonna get the cap in time. And you're still like pulling them out of spawn. But it could get a little bit more valuable because this is a good way to end up getting staggered. If either you were here sooner or if you waited longer for your teammates to respawn, because then suddenly they have a dilemma and they are going to get punished either way. Either they back off and come back for a point and it's still going to get captured anyway, and also they're going to be further away, which means you get more percentage, and then also your team's going to be able to capitalize off that immediately, or they stay and then just you get like objective time, which is amazing.
So, what you're saying is it likely would have been better to just wait and sacrifice some point percentage.
Generally, yes, because also they're going to cap this and then come back because they just died. If they had died like 5 seconds ago, I'd say it's fine to go ahead and go. But they just died, which means they have 8 seconds just to spawn back in, another 3 seconds to run across the continent that is the spawn, and then another maybe 6 seconds or so to get from spawn to the point. So that's, you're looking about roughly the 18-ish seconds that your teammates aren't able to do anything with what you just did. And then that's 18 seconds that you're going to have to try and stay alive for. Because either they come back, because they're not that far. because that's the other thing, is if they were still alive and stayed spawn camping, you could have bought more point percentage. You could have given up like 8% to gain another 19% or what, maybe not 19, but you know, another extra 10 or so percentage. But Zarya's already here because she, like, you've already killed the team, so she's kind of already naturally kind of backing up, blah blah blah, whatever. So she takes less time to get back, if that makes sense. And then you're gonna have to run off immediately. Either you might be able to get, you're probably gonna get point here, but it's also possible that you don't get point and you have to run off anyway. So all you did was pull her back. You didn't get point percentage, right? So you are like kind of leveraging or like gambling a bit more and investing to get more percentage overall by giving up a few inches. Kind of like on like Route 66 or any like real payload map, a lot of the low rank players will be like, we can't give an inch, hold the line, and stay right in front of spawn door. But if you go up a couple of ranks, everyone's like, hold up. Maybe instead of fighting for this impossible fight for 18 minutes in the front of spawn, let's back up a little bit and play this impossible to capture high ground and hold them for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? So you give an inch and then you get a mile back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not always. It can backfire. Like, she could come back. If you waited, she could have been coming back anyway. And then so not only do you not get the point, which you still didn't get it there, but also you lost the timing on it.
Yeah.
But even, like, again, that still wasn't a net zero value. Like, you still got point pressure. You pulled half away. Half of them that were in the furthest back were like, oh shit, we need to get a point. The front forward people are like, oh, I'm getting kills in spawn. This feels good, blah, blah, blah. They're not paying attention. Soldier, he's like, ooh, in tunnel visions on the Lifeweaver, doesn't care about point, doesn't get back for point, and then he dies for it. In your spawn, which Lifeweaver will get back soon. I mean, Soldier's still fast, so it's not like amazing, like grand, whatever, but you still are splitting them up. And then now, look at the back line. Baptiste is in the front line on your side of spawn, while Zarya's in the full back line. You flipped the side.
Yeah.
If I showed you the screenshot, you'd think they'd spawn on this side, which is still really good. Because, but again, if they had more, if you gave your teammates more time, they could have been faster. And so essentially you're giving your team a bigger window of time to capitalize on this very wonky position, if that makes sense. But by doing it earlier, they have longer time to have to travel, and you're giving your enemies more time to fix their mistake. But this is, you're getting more attention. Like, so this is helping. By shooting and being like, I'm over here, look at me, you're keeping that Zarya over there doing nothing, giving your team a larger window of time to close that distance before that Zarya is like, oh shit, my teammates are dying because I'm not in the front line. I wouldn't have, actually, I don't like this. I would have stayed. Honestly, I would have just, because Zarya is not a threat.
The Genji was coming at me.
Then you could fight the Genji. Unless you're not confident in fighting Genji. Again, that's one of the things where the objective thing to do here is to kill the Genji and then walk up. But if you're not confident in fighting Genji, then okay. Like, it's a game-by-game basis. Like, I would say, like, if you're trying to improve and learn, fight this Genji. Get better at fighting this Genji. So that way, in the future, you can fight this Genji, win the angle, and then use this angle.
Okay.
But if you're trying to win, because ultimately, improving is a one step back, two steps forward kind of process. So initially, you're going to play worse than you've ever played in your life when you learn new things, because you're thinking about what you're doing. And thinking about stuff is the best way to be terrible at doing that thing. But the point is, the more you think about it and the more you do it while you're thinking about it, the less you have to think about it and the more innate it becomes. So by putting yourself in these situations, talk about like Widow. The reason why I can tell that you played Widow a lot and play the Widow the way that you play her by taking those more risky angles for those kills rather than just playing safe like where I would play, because I only play Widow on a circumstantial basis, not as a character that I enjoy playing and like play outside of necessary circumstances, because you are comfortable in those situations, which you can only get by being in those situations time and time again. So you're not comfortable fighting this Genji because you never fight the Genji. You always just run. You always just run from the Genji. So you're never comfortable fighting him. So you never let him punish you anymore. You know what I mean? So you need to get better at fighting him. These are the kind of weaknesses that you patch out. But if you want to win this game, then yeah, I'd say run. But if you want to say, I want to get out of this rank, I'd say let's lose a couple points of elo, maybe even derank one tier, just to fight this Genji a couple times. So that way we can fight him next time.
That again, but I see your point.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is you have to recognize, and that's why it's going to be frustrating, because it's going to feel like you're getting worse when it feels like you should be better because you, in theory, know more. But you need to recognize that if you want to like learn, the goal is not to win. The goal is to improve, or put yourself in these situations that you need to put yourself into, even if you lose them, to build that confidence and that comfort.
I lost all my pressure there when I ran the Genji.
Yeah. And by the time you get here, see, Genji didn't do anything anyway, but your teammates still lost that fight because the Zarya and everyone walked back. It's like you can't, because you did it early. That's also the other thing. By making certain other mistakes before, you force yourself into situations where you have to do something that you don't want to do as much. You know what I mean? So by not getting the absolute perfect like timing and everything on that point pressure, you make it so that way you have to gain their attention for longer and do more on your end to stall for your teammates longer. If your teammates were much closer, you could have gotten away with a lot more there, because as Genji's coming out, the team's coming. You know what I mean? So like the timing was off. Which, as you flank and do these things more, the more you'll get a feel for that timing. And I think that's also why like I preferred like learning on Cass in general as well. Not only because I prefer playing Cass, but because those mistakes are way more constant because of the lack of mobility. The mobility, like you're crutching on your mobility the same way that you kind of crutch on your aim, where your mobility bails you out of bad like timing, right? So you're like, oh, I'm in this bad position, let me rotate real quick because I can, right? And that gains you opportunities, which in a scenario where you're trying to win, that's good. But like on Cass, you're like, oh, I'm just dead. I just lose this position because I play the timing wrong. But that means that you get in those situations more often and you get comfortable and you learn the timing sooner. So then you can now go in Soldier and still play like that, but then you have the mobility on top of that, if that makes sense. So the principles are there, the you know, innate feeling is there and the intuition is there, but you have more mobility. You have less, you know, lethality, but you have more mobility to play with. See, you almost killed him. Like, I think you just put yourself in a bad situation here by like running to point, because this is gonna become a main angle very quickly. Because in theory, this isn't a bad off angle, but like here, like there's not much you can see, and then you're giving him the high ground. Anyone that wants to push you, and they will want to push you because you're a lone soldier, and also they want to push point, they have such a high ground advantage, and it's so hard to get away. Even on soldiers, really hard to get away here.
Say I don't fight the Genji at all and just keep running. Is that decent?
That's definitely better. If Genji wants to keep chasing you, then you can, like, because you're fighting him here regardless, right? So at least it's better to run away, and it's like you're capping point. You still have 10 seconds to fight before like any of this matters. If you did this while they were fighting and point was available, this would be a different story. But yeah, you could run away like over here or whatever and put yourself in a better position to take a more even 1v1 against this Genji, or an even advantage 1v1 against this Genji. Like even if you like ran over here and then maybe dodged his dash, now you're over here. Whoops. Now you're even over here outside of enemy resources, because also over here, like I think you even got hit by like a Wu Yang thing, maybe, or was close to getting hit, right? Like there are resources. And if you're fighting here, let's say Genji doesn't fight or doesn't kill you or isn't that good, Baptiste can come over here and help. Wu Yang can help like very quickly. You know, it doesn't take much for them to help. But over here, they're not going to help. And if they do help, they're going to lose the fight for it. You know what I mean? So at least you're using that mobility to force him into a better... Because, like, yeah, he's a fast character, but he can't chase very easily. Because he uses his dash as a disengage and an engage. And if he uses it as an engage, just to even close distance, it doesn't do any damage with you, like with it, then you're just going to win that fight. But the fact that he hits that dash is pretty much the only thing that got you killed. Because you planted your feet too early.
Yep. Yeah.
And you could also, alternatively, just kept running. And see how long he wanted to chase you for, you know?
Yeah.
Especially they have Grav Blade. It's like, even now, like, let's say you're, you know, like the fight's not nearly as close as it is, or whatever, like it's a lot closer, which it is still pretty close. Genji is not there to capitalize on that Grav Blade if you're, like, further away, right? It's like, so Zarya graved because they're trying to win the fight. Now Genji can pop Blade and blah, 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 right? But, like, Grav Blade is their win condition right now. So you come over here, Genji's too far away from the Grav. And the Zarya is not going to be good enough to wait to Grav for the Blade. And it might be enough that Grav is enough to win the fight anyway. But then Genji will still have Blade. Which is like, oh no, Genji still has Blade. But that also means next time he's going to want a Blade, which you'll know is coming. And it won't have Grav to combo with it. And that means that will desync Zarya's Grav with Genji's Blade. Making it much harder for them to resync those ultimates on their own. Again, solo queue, lack of coordination. To then have that win condition. So you're making it a lot easier for them to snowball and stagger their ults in a way that they're not really able to squeak out those fights anymore. Or you're giving yourself an advantage later in the line because someone has to hold it.
Question. I think I barely think about ultimates. Maybe none at all. Because I feel like there's always other things that I'm focusing on improving, like positioning or like cooldowns.
People aren't like tracking the very percentage. I'm not thinking, oh, every single. Most people only ever think. I say, but every top player only thinks about the cooldowns that matters to them, right? But one kind of caveat is like knowing general. Again, by playing and everything, knowing generally, okay, this person hasn't ulted in 8 years. They're gonna have ult, and then kind of knowing, okay, they're probably gonna want to ult here. Maybe they might not, but it's. knowing whether or not they have ult in a very drastic window of time. I'm not saying like keep track of his grav blade, but I'm not saying that. But I'm saying in this position, I would know because it's been like 4 fights and they've been sweeping us. They're gonna have ult charge. They have all of their ults because they haven't needed to use any of them because they've been sweeping us. So I know that they have grav blade, and this is the first fight that's even remotely close because we got out under their thumb because it's a new point. And I'm not even saying like you should have thought of like, oh yeah, Genji has blade, and so by running this way, I'm not saying that's something you should deliberately think about, but this is like objectively generally a better option, and that would have also passively happened. That's a passive benefit that you weren't even thinking about. That is still also going to happen. Whereas that definitely isn't going to happen here, regardless of whether or not you think about it. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying all of these things are things that should be running through your mind, but I'm also trying to point out, hey, guess what would have also happened? You know, imagine this thing. Because there's also another game where that's still the right scenario, even if there isn't a Genji, grav blade combo happening. Even if Genji doesn't have blade at all, like it's still the right, nothing changes because of that. It's just kind of another thing. Okay, that's kind of unfortunate. Just kind of OD there.
I just knew I was there before I knew he was there.
Oh, you didn't know he was there? I thought you kind of reacted slow, but I thought it was because you didn't expect him to fight you like that. Because he can definitely hear you sprinting. Because I thought that's why you go up the stairs. Because why you go up the stairs if you don't know he's there? Oh, yeah, you turn... Oh, yeah, no, you should have saw him.
Oh, no.
I think you just weren't expecting him to just big dog you like that. I think you just expected him to keep running. Bad piece, man. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I mean... That's the main thing, is like whether or not... Like, it's hard for me to say, oh, yeah, you should have put your healing pad down. It's like, it's hard to know. Okay, this isn't worth it. Okay, what the hell? What did he just die by? Wait. The main reason why I say this isn't worth it is because Visor does no damage. So even if you hit him, like, he's got so much over health. And he's killing everybody. Like, it's better that they waste their ults here, so that way, let them sweep you. Let them use more ults, so that way you can come in with Nano Visor next fight. While they don't have any of these ults, you know what I mean? But I'm actually really curious, what did he, like, why was he 1 HP? Oh my god, if I did that one more time, I'm like, ugh. Oh, Zarya just beamed him down with Nano. Okay.
Wow.
You got away with it. Unless maybe you didn't. Yeah. So you're winning mostly off map advantage. But in this kind of situation where the thing about ult value isn't just inherent. It's not like chess where it's just any given piece is worth a certain amount of value. They are by default, but context and variables changes their value, right? So a blade isn't just worth a certain amount, because like if one Genji has a nano, then that blade is way more worth it than in way higher value than a Genji without nano. You know what I mean? And in this case, that variable is the point, right? So you're already in front of spawn. If you die and they burn all their ults just to kill you, you aren't walking 8 miles to get back to the fight. You're right there. The fight's already there. So it's just those 8 seconds, and then you're back. There's a lot less time, that would have time of regrouping and coming back, right? So their ults are worth more because they're also on defense. Their ults are worth more because they are defending objective. So every second they're stalling you, they're gaining. It's like, again, the attention thing. Every second they're keeping you away from the objective, they're gaining, right? They're winning. You have the burden of having to kill them and get on point as quickly as possible. So for every ult that doesn't actually succeed in winning the fight, it is a wasted ult, right? Any ult on defense that just succeeds in stalling is maybe not be as good. A Genji Blade or Wuyong ult, whatever, that gets no kills isn't good. But if it stalls it out for like, 20 seconds or whatever, then that's still value, right? But on attack, you have to get those kills. Otherwise, you've wasted it. And you're back to square one. And here, you guys were able to match it with ults. And that's because you guys had such extreme spawn advantage, and they did such a dumb thing ulting like that and spawn with everybody's ults. And you can't change what your teammates did. Like both, 2 of your teammates also ulted. But think about, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have Visor there. Like in hindsight, that the Visor worked. But did you even have to Visor there really? Because Genji was 1 HP, he's gonna die anyway. And then that piece is alone windowing against your entire team. You need Visor to kill him. You know what I mean? And then if you walk up, and then now you have Visor and you're up ults. Because now you win this fight. A little bit later, blah, 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 it's maybe like 60-ish%, maybe high 50s, and you have no ults, which means you guys you still have the advantage of map advantage, but they ulted first, and now you guys don't have nearly as much of an advantage, which means you aren't able to stall the point nearly as long, which you have the burden of having to stall it for longer because they've already gained half the amount they need to cap it, if that makes sense. So it's more imperative that you win this fight with ult advantage to win and stall out next fight than it is for you to win right now, and instead of waiting until next fight. You know what I mean? Which again, you can't control what your teammates do. They will still probably ult in that situation, but at least next fight you can go in with Visor kind of thing. There's also like, the ego ults, cosmetic ults. You see that like all the time with Nanoblade. It's like, if they kill the tank, like if you're Genji and you get nanoed and the tank and a support is dead, yeah, you can get a free juicy cleanup 3k. But do you need those ults to win the fight? No. Is nano wasted? Yes. But does that mean you have to waste blade with it? You know what I mean? Like, you can still make the executive decision to try and do what you can with nano or whatever, but hold on to blade, even though you're desynced, so that way you have blade next fight kind of thing. So think about like, you still got 2 kills with that. It's not like a wasted visor, you got nothing, where it's like that again, that negative reinforcement of like, oh, this was a bad visor because I couldn't kill anybody. It's very easy to be like, oh, this is a great visor because I killed 2 people and we won the fight eventually. Like it felt good. And it's not a terrible visor, but you also burn 2 other ults with it. On top of
I saw the 500 HP Genji there. I should not have visored.
Yeah, like on Cass, it might be a different story. Wu Yong's a little bit tough though, because if Genji decides to go on top of you, he's gonna die for it, but he'll probably stun you out of your Deadeye anyway. Like with Nanoblade on Cass, I Deadeye for Nanoblade. Especially if I get teammates help. If he goes straight for me, I'm not Deadeyeing because I'm not beating out Nanoblade with just Deadeye. But if I have a Nano, or if I have a teammate, anything like that, or if he's going for somebody else, then I can at least force cooldowns out or stall long enough using him, greeting my teammate to get the kill. Or get him low enough where I can follow. Like you trading one measly little Deadeye that I get back really quickly to heavily hinder his insane win condition of Nanoblade. You know what I mean? Visor doesn't have that luxury because all it does is just make it so you can't miss. Which can still work for some ults, but like normal blade, sure. But like Wuyong ult blade, maybe not. Because if he decides to go for you, then you're not going to kill him in time. You got away with it because he was so focused on it and everybody else. And again, it was such a bad place to do it that your visor here would be more valuable than their blade Wuyong ult in your spawn.
Nah, that's still just really diffing me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough scenario. We also have like a Zenyatta and a Moira. It's like, it's not amazing. We don't really have a win condition here. We have like Deadeye and Blade, or a Deadeye and Grav, I guess, or like maybe, Moira ult and Grav, something like that. Which is all the more reason why you should be using your ults to try and find kills where you can't find them otherwise. You know what I mean? Again, that was like an extension I was talking about before. Yeah, but they have Window Visor and Grav Blade and Wuyong. Like they have all their ults will work together. So it's gonna be really hard to win anything, especially if you're not winning the mid fight. It'd be different if you had more like win conditions like ult wise than them, because then you can like suffer through getting shit on through the mid fight to then sweep with the ult. But they can just hold you forever through the mid fight, and then when you finally get the leg up, they can sweep you with the ults. That's why it's especially more important to just let them get those ults out, because they're better ults. So that way it's better, instead of like trying to match those ults when you're in spawn, it's better to let them burn those ults in spawn and then use your significantly worse ults against no ults, But this is a hard position to play at this point. Like, because that's also the thing with Flashpoint is like momentum is such a huge deal. Like winning early is really, really good because of the ult charge. Like ults like run this game mode. That's why I don't like it I don't like having to say, especially like with cleanup, right? Like a lot of people like to fight, and like after a map, like after a point gets captured, it's like you lost or whatever. But after a point gets captured, a lot of people like to fight and like grit it out. But it's like you actually are at an advantage by dying there, because especially if you have ults, if you decided to abstain from ulting, because you knew you were gonna lose the fight ahead of time, you just respawn closer. So it's dumb. I don't like it. That's why I also don't really like control as much sometimes, because it's like certain I don't like the gameplay loop of having to say we can't put all of our everything into this fight, because we need to be resource conscious and be like, let's lose this point so we can win the next point kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's but there's just not much you can do. And like that's the other thing with Soldier too is like the visors are really hard to make work. And I don't really have a lot of tips with visor other than again it's you just gonna have to use it in a situation where not visoring would where the visor makes a difference in the play, whether it's by making it happen much faster, which buys you time in a lot of situations, or gets a kill where you normally wouldn't get a kill. And the reason, like, because with cast, it's kind of the same thing. There are some rare scenarios like get like blade, especially if it's just dry blade. You know, you can just ult for ult with that. But a lot of times with Deadeye, like my Deadeye doesn't matter to me. I'm not using Deadeye like, in a way that makes any real substance to the fight. I'm leaning more on my kill potential through my normal gun. But with Soldier, you don't have as much kill potential, and your ult also doesn't have as much. You know what I mean? It just picks up some of that net. So he's still, his ult's worse than Deadeye at this point, unless you have some kind of combo with it. So you just have a lot less tools at your disposal. But that's why it's all the more important to get on these off angles and get as much advantage outside of those things as you can, so that way when you use them, you have that mountain of foundation with advantage, right? By flanking, getting behind them, timing it right, so that way, the greedier your flank is, the later in the fight it is, without being too greedy where your teammates die, where you become, boom, suddenly I'm a threat, and it's too late to do anything about it, because you've already invested so many resources into my team and blah, 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 that I get a free visor off in your backline, and there's no resources that you have to deal with my visor, versus visoring in their front line midway through the fight, where they're just going to look at you, kill you, and then visor's done. Or like again in that situation where you're trading visor, for something else. But in this case, yeah, Blade and Wuyong ult are worth trading visor for. But in that situation, even though both of them are there, that's why like it's kind of 50-50. It's like it wasn't inherently a terrible visor. But in the context of also Zen tranked, or someone else ulted, I think it was Zen tranked, or swapped or whatever. Or it was Ana that nano boosted and swapped his Zen, I think. And then Zarya later grabbed, like those things that were out of your control lessened the value of your visor, if that makes sense. Yeah. I will say Nano helped your visor, because if it wasn't for Zarya, Nano, like that visor would not have been able to kill that Genji. Most likely, maybe it still could have, who knows. But keep in mind, like with Widow is probably like the only hit scan that doesn't really matter for, because Widow, you can choose to ult whenever you really feel like it. You can ult if you're like dead and it feels like, maybe it'll help your team, or you can ult to selfishly help you look for a kill, whatever. Like the ult doesn't really make that big of a difference unless you're in like a Widow v Widow fight. But all the other hit scan, other than Sojourn's just like, it's overclocked, but, Tracer, Cass, Soldier, whatever, right? Like those ults, you mainly want to focus on using them unless you have a combo for it, like Cass with Sigma ult or whatever, right? Or, Nano visor or whatever. The best way to use them dry is by using them against as little fight as possible, with that, as little pushback as possible. And the way you do that is by using it in a fight where they don't have ults, or if you want to use it to gain an ult out. Like maybe, let's say they have, Wuyong, or like say they have like Trank or something, like whatever, like they have an ult that matters, or even like Wuyong Blade or whatever. But if you visor that Wuyong early, you can maybe force him to use that ult earlier than he would have liked, and earlier than the Genji would have liked, and maybe die for it, whatever. But you force it you force him to use it at a time where it's so bad for them that it burns it, and your teammates can capitalize off that. Or you kill him because he's like, I can't use it here because I need it. And then now you can take that fight without the Wuyong Blade coming in and stealing your thunder, Same thing is like, Trank. If you have a Nano Blade and you're fighting a Zenyatta, and whether you're Tracer or whatever, it's like, if you stick that Zenyatta has a choice in, 0.2 seconds as the pulse bomb's about to blow up. Do I burn Trank to live and try to get as much value as possible to make it worth it in this fight? Or, and now they have a free Nano Blade. Or do I burn Trank now, and now we don't have anything for Nanoblade? Both options are wrong. He isn't a catch-22, because he will not ever get enough value in that fight, especially because that's your job, is to make sure after you burn Trank to gun him down. He will never get that value back. So you're winning that ult away from, you're trading Pulse Bomb for Trank, which is essentially trading Nanoblade into nothing. You're giving your Nanoblade the win condition, less resources, less pushback, right? In this situation, you don't have an ult like that. So you can go more for like, I'm just trying to get a good ult alone, where I'm trying to ult after, like, again, saving your ult, let them all burn ults. Now I can ult in a flank where they have no ults to fight me back, and I can go for a big visor on my own. But if you have an ult that's worth more, when your ult isn't very good and you have like an ult condition that's worth more, that's blocked by another ult, then you can use your shittier ult to force them to burn that ult, so that way your teammates can use their win condition without the impedance of that defensive ultimate, like Trank with them, blah blah blah. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah,
I know it's very like long-winded, but it matters for getting getting the value out of these things that don't have a lot of inherent value on their own is the entire philosophy behind hit scan DPS on off angles, essentially. Because the whole point is the positions that you're using are worthless on their own, but you're making them worth it. You're making the enemy team fight for a position that they don't want to fight for, and they wouldn't normally fight for if you weren't there. You know what I mean? And you're using your mobility and the safety of, again, going so far back and going so far away. Like, as a tracer, the last thing you want to do is recall to your team or like disengage to your team, right? Like, let's say like your teammates are like right here and like you're flanking and fighting, blah blah. They push you away and like they're chasing you. Don't go back to your team, right? Because you're still going to be a threat, and then now you can't do much. If you're getting chased, chase further, disengage back further behind them, because that's going to make them want to fight you less. Because again, if Genji wants to flank, he's forcing you off the angle, he's marking you. Now, he still he's still advancing, he's still getting something, even if he's not killing you. But the further back you go, is the fastest way to make them give less and less of a shit, right? And that's because your teammates exist. Now, if you do this without teammates, if you're in a 1v5, guess what? Genji has nothing better to do than just chase you all the way around the map, because he doesn't have to worry about anyone else capturing their objective or killing his teammates, right? But if all of his teammates are fighting all of your teammates, he has a decision to make. And no matter what, he's not getting inherent value one way or the other, unless he kills you, right? But even then, he's still losing out on participating for as long as you kept him, right? But it's also a trade, because it also means you're not participating because you're running away.
Yeah.
So it's all about giving and taking as much as possible, and depending on which hit scan you do, it changes how much you're giving and taking attention, right? Again, when you have the attention, you're trying to keep the attention, right? And you're not trying to go for kills. And when you don't have the attention, you're trying to go for kills until you get attention, and then you keep flip-flopping that. And depending on who you're playing, the more you do of one or the other. On Soldier, you want more attention than you want to try and go for kills for the most part, especially if you have more lethality in your team, like a Cass, for example, because you don't have that inherent lethality. And you can stay longer. With Cass, you don't want the attention, you don't want that smoke, because you can't deal with it as easily. You want to wait for golden opportunities to go for shorter windows of time where you go for those kills. And, in certain positions, you can play better positions where you can get more attention and stay in them for longer. Tracer, again, the mobility allows her to choose which one or the other as much as she wants. She can go fully for kills and recall and just dip entirely until they forget and go for kills again. Or she can sprinkle, hey, I'm here, dip, stay there, and like have that higher uptime, and it's just a mix of the two depending on what she's fighting. Widow, again, same thing, is like, it's the ultimate. I'm going for kills. I don't want any attention, or I want all of the attention for the entire match, which again depends on the map. Like on Junkertown, you're staying in the back line. You're not off angling really. You're just staying in the back line saying, give me all your resources. It's not going to matter, because it's just too far. It's just too expensive to get as far as you are, but it's the inverse. It's you're so far back in your back line that they can't reach you. And it's too expensive, versus like Tracer or whatever, so far back in their back line, it's too expensive. You know what I mean? You're just using it in different ways. I hope that makes sense, because I really want to drive home why those things matter, especially because I know that you said that you think your biggest weakness is maybe you're trying to pick up like too many characters. But I don't think that, like, with hitscan, it's one thing if you're trying to pick up Genji or Mei or whatever. Like that's its own separate thing. All hitscans have transferable skills, whether it be aim, but especially positioning, because they position differently, but for the same reasons. Which is against the degree. So I really want to drive home the principles of the off angles and what makes a position good. Because again, you can play Samoa and go on that high ground forever, for every game. And it'll work probably more times than it won't, to be fair. Because again, statistically, that's still more likely. But what happens when there's a tracer up there? What happens when they don't let you do that thing? Now what do? You fall apart and it's an instant loss, And so if you know what things are good, yes, you might still default to those positions in those specific situations. But now, after you go to this, like, you'll probably be better on Saravasa and, Samoa and Eichenwald. But what happens if you play, some other random map like Dorado or whatever, right? Like, what happens if you play that? What happens if you play an entirely different game mode that we didn't even cover? You're just as lost as you were before. Like, none of what I told you matters, because you're not you're only doing what, and you're not doing it why, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to really drive home why these things are good, so that way you have the tools to apply those to whatever you want and adapt. So that way when things go, wrong, you have backup plans, and then you can play more characters. Like you will probably be able to pick up casts more efficiently than you could before, because as long as you're playing this in way, it'll still be harder, because I think to me he's the hardest hit scan to play in this sense, because it's about consistency. And he's also the most heavily punished hit scan when you're going on these off angles, because he has lack of mobility, like most consistency without with the least amount of mobility. Widow is also hard in these situations, but she also has a way higher peak in value, depending. So like, you'll probably still get punished heavily, right? But like Soldier will be better. You can take this to Ashe. Like this all applies to all of the same hit scans, as long as you know why. Even Sojourn, who might play slightly differently, you can still recognize, hey, this is a situation where I don't play like other hit scans. I play like a bot in main and just farm out the tank, and then just gun their squishies down with rail or whatever, right? So that's the main takeaway. Again, your aim is phenomenal. The main thing that we're trying to do here is make it so that way your aim can shine by not, everything that you have, your mouse, your mouse pad, your monitor, all of these things are just lessening the friction between you and your aim, right? Your physical movements and where your shot goes. Because if you could just think, right? If you could just think, I want my crosshair to go here, you're gonna hit every shot with like aimbot. You know what I mean? But the problem is there's so many things in the way that like skew your input, and that goes all the way to in-game too. Whether it's you have to dodge with your movement because you're getting shot at, or people are jumping you, so you're panicking and you're not moving where you normally would with your mouse because of panic, right? So it's all about making you the most comfortable. The more comfortable you are, all that's doing is revealing more and more of your raw aim. And the better your raw aim is, the better everything else will be. Because raw aim is just the ability to move the mouse around. But if you have to move your keyboard and you move your character and you have to move your mouse in ways that you don't want to, then you're not using your raw aim. That's why aim labs, you hit shot, boom, 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 whatever, right? Because you're not moving, there's no threat, just time pressure. But there's not even like a 360 degree. I mean, it depends on like maybe I guess the certain like drill that you do or whatever. But what happens when you start shooting back? What happens when there's multiple people on you shooting at you? What happens if they're really on top of you? These are the things that matter. And also, again, it doesn't matter how good your aim is if you're shooting into a shield. So how do you bypass that shield and get to a better position, right? So I have no doubt that you will succeed. Because again, as long as you get those principles down, then you will exponentially increase, because you were being so bottlenecked by getting caught out by these things. Because it is really frustrating. Like this is the biggest thing I find when I coach scan players, I harp on the most. I will say it's almost never the aim, because aim will always come with time, but your aim is only ever going to get better if you do the things that you should be doing anyway. Because again, like in these situations where you should have fought the Genji but you ran away, it's because you're not comfortable fighting Genji, because you never fight Genji. So you have to like go break through that wall of like, I have to sit here and die to Genji 18 times and kill him maybe 3 times until eventually I get comfortable being in a situation where I can start doing it for real in actual situations where it matters. And it's gonna suck too, because there's gonna be the comp factor. If you decide to play in comp, if you are practicing, then you're gonna be losing a lot. So that's just something. It's a sacrifice that you have to be willing to make. Is climbing worth it to you to lose a little bit? And you also have to have that confidence, knowing that you can get it back, knowing that you're good enough to get further makes the losing fine. Yeah, it means you have to play a couple more games, but I find that's why a lot of people like get really anxious, and like as soon as they reach a new rank, they stop playing because they're worried that they're gonna lose the next couple games and they'll never get it back, kind of thing. But that means that they don't in their actual mind think that they deserve that rank, because if they did, they would just be like, I just get it back, because they also don't want to go through what they went through. But I have no doubt that, like, especially with your aim, because your aim is significantly better than a lot of people that I've seen on his own, especially because you do play Widow, which is also such a punishing character to play against if they're good and can stay alive. Because I know a Widow that's in Masters right now that has phenomenal aim, probably better than me, honestly. But they always go for the flashy ego jump shots. That's it. That's all they go for. So at best, they get 1 kill, and then I trade them, at best. So even though they can hit the craziest shot, they can only shoot it 1 time and they're dead, and then we have a 20-second window of time to play without them, So using that aim, if you can hit those shots, imagine the shots you could hit if you weren't under any pressure and could stay alive the whole game, and how much harder it is to play against that. So yeah, I hope that clears everything up. You have any questions? Anything?
I guess just if you could give me the essential pointers to look for in my next games.
Yeah. Okay. So depending on who you play, of course, but again, it's transfers over. The main thing is trying to think about why a position is good. Look at your
Okay.
options. Look at your options and think about, especially if you die, because sometimes you die and it wasn't for like a bad reason. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just die. It's unlucky. That doesn't mean you did the wrong thing. You got out aimed or whatever. You know, it shit happens. Like that Reaper on that one thing. It's like you didn't do something inherently wrong. Yes, there was something you could have done to prevent that possibility, but you still should have won that fight. He was 1 HP. You got unlucky. Same thing as like in a situation where that's wrong, you could get the kill and then move on and not get punished for that, but think it's right even though it's the wrong thing. So eventually you get higher and higher. People start punishing you more for that, right? So try to think about how it feels to play a certain position and why it feels the way that it does, right? If you can think about why you're comfortable and focus on your comfort. You know, try to less to greed kills just because you can, and more so to set up in a position that has also future possibilities. Just because you sit here and can get a kill now, if you can't do anything after that, especially on Widow, I cannot stress this enough. Especially on Widow, it is super common, especially on attack Widow, to like get an angle, get a pick, your teammates can push up, and then now you are stuck because there's no real good angle to take after that, and then you're just kind of not really able to do much on Widow. I find that happens a fair amount sometimes on circuit playing Widow. On attack, I take that left side angle on that balcony. I kill their Widow. We walk up. We get around that bend. I have really no good position to play in. It's kind of hard. So like those positions exist on every map, and some maps are better than others. And what makes them better or worse is how many other options you have. On circuit, you don't really have that many other options. You're just kind of stuck in that position, and you're kind of hoping your teammates can help alleviate certain pressures to allow you to walk up. But in certain other maps, like Sarvasa, for example, or Samoa, you have 13 other routes you can take if this one doesn't really work that well. So it's the main thing is understanding why. Ask yourself, why is this position, like, why am I going here? What am I looking to achieve on this position, and what can I achieve after? Like, let's say I achieve my goal on this position. Is your goal just to sit on that position because you can and just gun people down until you win the fight? Or are you trying to look for a certain weakness? Like, on Samoa, for example, like that high ground on the right side on that, like the little gazebo map or whatever, the middle pillar map, right? Is there a certain piece of cover that certain people are hiding behind from the main angle that you just can't reach, that you can with that right angle? So like, okay, my goal is to take that cover out of the pool for those people to use by going right side and having that angle on them, making it uncomfortable. That's the main thing, is make yourself as comfortable as possible and make them as uncomfortable as possible. And a lot of times one equals the other. The more comfortable you are, a lot of times means the less comfortable they are naturally. So yeah, I hope that clears that up.